quorum, all are in attendance, except for one of our colleagues, Mrs. Virginia Pupo Walker. Unfortunately, she has had a family emergency, and for that reason, she will not be able to be here today. Our thoughts and hearts are with her and her family. We wish them the very, very best. And we know she wanted to be here. And with that, Dr. Berthena Nabaa McKinney, if you would not mind, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance with your historic making self? You're the first Muslim woman to be appointed to this board.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are so very excited to not only be back in person, but to be offering public participation to those community members who would like to speak. Tonight, we have 39 members of our community who have signed up to address us. They will be given 2 minutes each. For social distance purposes, unfortunately, we will have community members come in through one door, speak at the podium for 2 minutes. When the 2 minutes is over, they will hear this sound, and they will be asked to exit through the door to my left and your right, the emergency exit, where we have a gentleman here standing to help you out. With that said, we will have our first 5 called: Ms. Laura Leonard, Asha Carr, Jeremy Carlson, LaRue Rumpf, and Daryl Washington. Please feel free to come to the board as soon as you see your name.
This is exciting. Too soon? I'm sorry. That monitor is on, yeah? Out in the lobby.
All right, so we'll call again Laura Leonard. Oh, I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I'm not Laura. Hi, I am Matt Dempsey, number 6 on the list for you. But Dr. Gentry, other distinguished board members, thank you for allowing me time to speak today. My name is Matt Dempsey. I'm the principal at Republic High School in North Nashville. I want to speak to you today about our charter renewal that will be coming up for a vote in the next few weeks. I don't believe it's on the docket today. But I want to talk to you a little bit about my school, what it means to my families, and just what it means to me. I moved here from Selma, Alabama 6 years ago, and I became principal at Nashville Prep, one of our other schools. And there I served for 4 years. Excited to leave that school with a TVOS score of 5 and have one of the best exceptional education departments in the city. I then moved to the high school the last 2 years. Excited to be there. We have 650 plus scholars, and our curriculum is centered on computer science. Just in this past year, we had the AP Computer Science Female Diversity Award. Only 4% of schools in the world received this honor. It means that more than 50% of your AP Computer Science participants and test passers are female. All of this is set up to prepare our students for the next phase in their journey, their post-secondary education. When we look at our college matriculation rate, we can compare our last class. Out of the 115 students who completed high school, in our first graduating class, 92% proceeded to enroll in either 2 or 4 year colleges. Comparing that to other MNPS graduates, they're 41% more likely to attend college. That is also true when you compare it to the state, where they're 27% more likely to attend college. Lastly, I do want to encourage you to come visit the school virtually. We've got plenty of time, plenty of space, so I invite you to come with me to kind of tour our classrooms during this time before the vote, and I'd love for you to speak to some of our parents and kids about what the school means to them. Our parents and students choose RHS every single day, and I'd love you to be able to honor that choice by renewing our charter when that vote comes up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Ms. Christina McDonald.
Hi, good evening. My name is Christina McDonald. Thank you so much for letting us come today to talk to you about the schools that we love. I am the principal of Nashville Prep. I was actually a founding teacher there 10 years ago. It is a huge honor to be back there. I went to South Jackson, Mississippi to open a school and came back 2 years ago to be the principal of Nashville Prep. My favorite moment so far pre-COVID or when kids run up in the building and they're like, Miss McDonald, my big sister, my big brother had you in class. I learned all about the 50 states from when they were in your history class. and getting to see families choose our school over and over again, from sending their oldest to their youngest to our building every day to learn. I'm also a native Nashvilleian, and I love this city. I love that we believe in education. I love that we have colleges and universities, public, private, charter, magnet, every different school here, because we know that parents deserve the right to choose. And I'm so honored that we have parents even here tonight to talk about why they choose Nashville Prep and why they want to send their scholars to a Republic school. Nashville has changed a lot since I was a kid. It has gotten huge. As you know, it's gotten very crowded. It is so different than what it used to be. But I know that Nashville is a place that believes in education and believes that parents have the right to choose where they send their kids. I'm also really proud that in this environment that we are in with COVID, our parents gave an over 80% acceptance rate of how we were doing virtual learning, which tells me even more that the computer science and coding that we are teaching our kids is so valuable for the work that they are going into, so they will not just leave college, go to college, but they will be able to thrive after, and they're able to do that by getting the education at Nashville Prep. So thank you for letting us be here to tell you about the schools that we love. It is such an honor. As Mr. Dempsey said, we would love to invite you into our buildings, even virtually, so that you can see the classrooms. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alejandra Sueto? All right. Daryl Keys?
Daryl Washington, please.
Okay. I'm sorry, a different list in mind. Go right ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Daryl Washington. I am a mother of a sophomore at Republic High School, and we've been a part of the community for 2 years. About 2.5 years ago, I came here to express my discontent and express concerns over both MNPS policy and federal educational guidelines that were being violated at MLK High School. These issues remained unresolved. In the summer of 2018, my daughter attended a week-long computer coding class through Republic High School's Cato Club. At the end of each day, she arrived home with enthusiasm that her father and I could not help but notice. After researching Republic, we felt as if it would be a great fit for her, and we knew we wanted to choose Republic for her education. In the fall of 2019, my 15-year-old then transitioned to Republic High School. Within the first quarter alone, my daughter's grades rose exponentially. It is noted that she was taking upper-level classwork as a freshman. I attribute her academic success at Republic in challenging coursework to the level of instruction and support by the teachers at Republic High School, provided to not just her, but her classmates as well. Requiring all students to take Latin, computer science, and advanced placement courses further enhances each student's academic strengths, and it prepares them for college. What's more, the RHA staff have adapted their instruction styles to meet the needs of their scholars. They have consistently made themselves accessible to students for extra instruction. In fact, the 2019 inaugural graduating class of Republic High School boasted an 80% matriculation rate, which is 41% higher than MNPS's matriculation rate over the past 4 years. When COVID emerged, the RHS administration was extremely responsive, and due to the school's comfortability with the technology, our students were able to continue their 2019-2020 academic year with minimal challenges. This has made the difference for my daughter. Republic High School offers many scholars in the Nashville community with the opportunity to obtain a first-class education.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next person, which might be Alejandra Sueto. Hello.
How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
Sorry, I'm very nervous, but I'm just representing the parents of Nashville Prep. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Alex Cueto, and my 13-year-old son, Giovanni Cueto, is a scholar attending Nashville Prep. This is his 3rd year attending this school. And I actually initially decided to enroll Giovanni in Nashville Prep after hearing the positive experience I received from 2 of my separate colleagues that they had with their kids. Coming from a different school district, it was important for me to enroll my son in a school that could provide the highest quality education within my reach. So after touring the school and meeting with some of the teachers, I was confident that Nashville Prep would provide the best overall education experience for my son. Nashville Prep focused on building a strong academic foundation for their students, as well as prepare them for high school, eventually college. Even as a 6th grader, Nashville Prep exposed Giovanni to classes such as computer science, which has sparked his curiosity in seeking a career in STEM in the future. And he has been able to excel in the coding classes, which he loves math. Throughout the years, his teachers have taken the time to encourage and motivate him achieve his highest potential. Because of their encouragement, Giovanni has been a part of the yearbook club and student council. Nashville Prep teachers spend tireless hours preparing for their classes, truly encouraged and supporting students as well as their families. I know that if I have any questions, I reach out to any of the teachers, and they were able to communicate with me via text, fax, or email. So as a working mom, that is something that I appreciate and gives me the peace of mind. Each teacher knows me by name, and that's very important. Nashville Prep was impacted, as you know, by the tornado earlier this year. Their quick response to the situation strengthened my trust in their leadership. So anyway, thank you.
No, thank you. Have a good day. All right, next should be Daryl Keys.
Hello.
Hello.
Actually, my name is not Daryl Keys. Daryl Keys was unable to make it today. My name is Marcus Gibbs. I'm on behalf of Nashville Prep.
Okay.
I don't have a speech prepared, so I'm just going to talk for what I know. I've had 2 children go through the cycle. I have one daughter, she's a 10th grader now in Nashville at Republic High School, and one son who's an 8th grader at Nashville Prep. During that time, it's been great. The teachers all care for the children. They educate them. They teach them the things that I feel is important in life: structure, discipline, and hard work. And it's been great. It's been a great experience for both of my children, and they are both on the path for college. And that's all I can ask for a school. And I just hope that you all renew their charter. That's it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Cecilia Prado.
Hi, I'm here once again to ask you that you, as elected officials, you listen to the people and abstain from voting on the 2 Orion contracts. I'm Cecilia, I'm co-director at Workers' Dignity, a nonprofit organization that supports workers that are experiencing abuse. I am glad that finally we have board members that are pointing out the obvious, which is that MNPS should have higher standards when it comes to the companies they do business with, other than going for the cheapest one, which often means that they're sacrificing worker safety and dignity. And 2, that paying workers for the work that they did at a metro project with the condition that they sign a contract of silence should never happen. I feel frustrated to hear that some of you say that this is an anomaly in the construction industry and at MNPS. There's real data that shows how dangerous Nashville is for construction workers. Just because Armando is the first worker at an MNPS project to stand up doesn't mean that he's the only one who has had this experience. I feel tired with Metro Legal and board members that say that non-disclosure agreements are normal. No, they're not. They are shady. When asked if NDAs are normal, a prominent Nashville labor lawyer said, "I will never let a client sign one." Why should we allow that at projects where we pay with our tax dollars? I feel disappointed to hear one of you say that we cannot regulate ethics. Is this Wall Street? No, this is the school system. And being the institution in charge of shaping our future generations, I will expect the school system to have a moral standing within the community. But I guess that's a lot to ask. I feel agitated that MPS members are afraid to stand with workers out of fear that Orion will sue them. Does that mean that the government will would only write policy based on fear of corporations? That's just a really bad model for policy. There's a reason that Tennessee has some of the worst labor laws in the country, and that's what the reason being that businesses are allowed to have been lobbying for awful labor laws for generations here in Tennessee. Thank you.
Thank you.
I tried to put that all in 2 minutes.
Thank you
That
for
was
your
hard.
time. Mr. Armando Arzate?
Yes.
I always mess it up.
Hola, buenas tardes nuevamente. Gracias por permitirme.
Hi, good afternoon. Once again, thank you for allowing me to be here.
Creo que ya todos ustedes saben el motivo por qué vuelvo a venir con ustedes.
I think you all know why I'm here.
Creo que ya es tiempo de que exijamos a Orion a que me paguen.
I think it's time to just ask that Orion please pay me for my work.
Obviamente él es el responsable de haber contratado a esa compañía que no me pagó, entonces es responsable de pagarme a mí.
He is responsible for paying the company and they are the ones profiting from the work, so I think they're responsible for my payment.
Ahora, yo quisiera que revisaran el sistema que tienen, que honestamente siento que está muy corrompido.
I would really like for you to, evaluate and reflect on your system that it just seems broken to me.
Porque el mismo sistema los hace obligarlos a votar solo por una persona.
The same system that is basically putting you in a corner for, going for a specific decision.
¿Por qué votar solo por esa compañía? ¿Porque supuestamente es más barata?
Why voting for Orion? Like, is your only standard that is the cheapest one?
Entonces, ¿por qué no me dan un contrato directamente a mí?
So why don't you give me the contract? I was cheaper.
Si se supone que yo hice ese proyecto de la escuela McMurray con mi dinero.
I did the work, and I actually used all of my money to, invested my money.
Yo invertí todo mi dinero para hacer ese proyecto, de lo cual no he recibido un penny.
I invested all the money I had to do this project at McMurray, which I haven't received a penny for.
Y vamos, todos ustedes han comentado que yo no he tenido la inteligencia para hacer estas acciones, pues aquí me tienen.
And many of you have commented that I am not intelligent enough to actually craft the strategy behind this or plan my own actions.
Y lo que les vuelvo a decir es tiempo de que ya obliguen a Orion a que me pague.
So I just want to say, please just listen to me and make Orion pay me.
Y la próxima vez que vengo espero agradecerles el que ya me hayan pagado.
Next time, I hope I just say thank you to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Macy Bennett.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Macy Bennett. I'm the principal at Liberty Collegiate Academy, which is one of the Republic schools, one of the 3 in Nashville that's up for renewal this January. So I'm here today on behalf of my staff, my family, students, and school community, just to talk a little bit about the impact that Liberty and Republic has on Nashville. It's really my privilege to tell you very briefly about my time at Liberty. I joined the staff in 2014, 6 years ago, as a teacher, an assistant principal, and then I've been the principal. It's about to be my 4-year anniversary, actually, this week. In my 6 years, I've come to see time and time again that families just choose our school, and they show up for our school. For example, a student that I had in my homeroom and my literacy class, when she was in... when she was a 7th grader back in 2014, I now have 2 of her younger students who are enrolled at my school. And when her 5th grade youngest brother joined this August, I had the privilege to speak to her mom on Zoom. Her mom speaks Spanish, but with a translator, her mom told me, I'm so nervous about middle school and Zoom in a virtual setting, but I know you're going to take care of my kids just like you've taken care of my older daughter and just like you always have. One of the most common reasons why families choose Liberty and continue to choose is strong academics, the challenging curriculum, and just the incredible support. Family after family tells me, I want my student to be challenged, or they need help in reading, or I want more communication, and Liberty gives that to them. Really embodies our mission to reimagine public education in the South. I know, unfortunately, a lot of people in the United States don't believe that Black and brown students like mine can achieve, can be successful, can go to college, or can love school. And when I work at the staff at Liberty, as I do every day, I see that just a group of people who are committed to doing whatever we need to do to help those kids be successful. The student I spoke about at the beginning, the 7th grader whose younger brother is still with me, graduated from Republic High School last May and received a scholarship to attend college in Nashville. She's double majoring in business and computer science, and I'm confident that Republic and Liberty was a big part of her journey.
Thank you for your time. All right, Mary Holden.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mary Holden, and I am out of breath, oh my gosh. I am an ELA teacher at Oliver Middle School, and my daughter is also a student there. Before I begin, I wanted to encourage the board to please stand with workers tonight. Whether we work with kids or concrete, we are workers, so please stand with them and abstain from the vote on the Orion contracts. That is the moral thing to do. Tonight, I am not sharing my own experience. I am sharing that of an elementary school teacher. She is an EE teacher in the Northeast Quadrant. She is in quarantine because of exposure to COVID for the 2nd time this semester. These are her words. I am a teacher. I have personally been impacted by the return to in-person learning at school, as have many faculty and staff at my school and at schools of my colleagues and friends. I have been working in person and I have been quarantined twice. This is real. Despite teachers' best efforts to maintain social distancing within the buildings, we cannot control what is happening outside of our 8-hour workday. Students and staff continue to live their lives, and their actions directly impact the lives of others. This, in turn, continues the increase of COVID-19 infections within the buildings, shutting down classrooms, grade levels, or even entire schools. I have many questions. Are students who are sent home with COVID symptoms allowed back without a negative test result? Can they just wait a certain amount of days and then return? How does a return to school work? Last week, it was reported that at least 984 students and staff are in quarantine, but I believe the numbers shown are not the actual numbers that teachers are experiencing, in part because students are not getting tested. There's no accountability. They're carrying it, they're spreading it. Some schools are already operating with only half their staff due to the other half teaching virtually. When you factor in, do I have another minute?
2 minutes. Did it start on
That's
time?
correct? Okay.
Is it Dave?
That's correct.
Yes. Thank you for your time.
Okay,
That's it, yeah.
thank you. Please be respectful of that. Okay.
Thank you. Osiris Valadez?
Hi, my name is Osiris Valadez, and I come here to support Armando. He have the same rights for me, like me. He's Latino, he's Mexican like me, and they need pay him work, cause he did him work. My English is so bad, but I try to say the right for everyone, and he need justice. Thank you.
That was perfect. Thank you. Adriana Salazar?
Diana Osiris Valadez Salazar.
I'm sorry, say it again? Oh, gotcha, okay. Thank you. Raul Morales Chavez?
Buenas tardes.
Hello, I'm an interpreter, by the way.
Yo vengo aquí a hablar por esas voces que a veces no son escuchadas de los hispanos,
I'm here to speak on behalf of the Latinx community that is not heard here,
que nos han robado salarios, que de ahí comemos nuestros hijos y nosotros.
We've had our wages stolen. That's where we draw our money. That's where our families eat.
Y venimos a apoyar al señor Armando, que le paguen lo que le deben y que no vuelvan a votar por esas compañías rateras.
We're here to support Armando so that you pay what is due and that that you don't hire companies that steal from workers anymore.
Queremos justicia, justicia para todos los hispanos que de una u de otra manera nos han robado.
We want justice, justice for the Latinx community, most of whom have their wages stolen.
Muchas gracias y queremos el apoyo de ustedes. Por favor, ayúdenos para que le paguen al señor Armando y que no se hagan más injusticias. Somos gente honrada y trabajadora que venimos a este país a luchar por una mejor vida para nuestros hijos.
Thank you so much. I ask that you support Armando and help him get paid. We come here to struggle, we come here to work hard, and we need justice.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. Bernardo Garcia?
That was Adriana that spoke. This is Raúl.
Okay, thank you.
Mi nombre es Raúl y pues yo vengo a pedirles también o a exigir que pues le paguen a Armando por su trabajo que ya realizó.
My name is Raúl and I'm here to demand that Armando gets paid for the work that he already did.
Porque nosotros no nos regalan nada, nosotros hacemos el trabajo como quiera que sea en el sol, en cualquier clima.
I am a worker, and for us, nothing comes for free. We work under the sun, we work under any weather, and it's really hard work.
Y no es justo que siga pasando esto, y más que nada aquí en las escuelas de Nashville, que pase este tipo de injusticia, que no paguen al trabajador.
It is not fair that this is going on, especially here in our public schools, that workers are not getting paid.
Nosotros tenemos que pagar renta, luz, agua y todo, no nos perdonan nada. Si es que es injusto que pase esto, ¿verdad? Que no nos paguen.
We have to pay rent, we have to pay lights, utilities, nothing gets forgiven for us, and it's not fair that this is happening.
Así es que yo quisiera por este medio, aunque sea pedirle a Ginny Pupo, que siempre ha hablado a favor de los latinos, pues que se vea, que se haga notar en esta votación que van a hacer para darles más contratos a Orión, que ya no les sigan dando.
I would like to ask especially Ginny Pupa Walker, who's not here, to support us. She always says that she supports the Latinx community, and she hasn't showed up for us.
Que no sigan dando contratos a empresas o constructoras que no cumplen con pagar al trabajador que hace el trabajo.
Stop giving contracts to companies that are not paying their workers.
Es lo que...
Thank you. Thank you for your time. And I'll again remind everyone that Virginia People Walker has had a family emergency, so our thoughts and prayers are with her. She never misses. All right, Bernardo Garcia.
Buenas noches.
Hello.
Mi nombre es Bernardo.
My name is Bernardo.
Y estoy aquí en apoyo de Armando. Queremos que le paguen.
We're here to support Armando. We want him to get paid.
Porque si lo roban a él, nos roban a todos nosotros.
If you steal from him, you steal from all of us.
Venimos aquí a trabajar honradamente para que no nos pague la gente.
We come here to work honorably, just not to get paid.
Es todo, gracias.
That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Ricardo Quintana.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Ricardo. And now that you guys know that we have a problem with this big company, Orion, stealing the money from the workers, from the subcontractors, what do you guys are doing about it? Do you realize every time these people stole our money, they stole their money from our kids, the payments from our houses? I'm a taxpayer, and I believe I had the right to ask, what are you guys doing? Or how long it's gonna take for you guys to act and protect these guys who works like, we work hard every single day, no matter if it's raining or shining. We work. We try to do the right thing. And these big companies, somebody stole my salary on Parish Avenue, Miss Barbie, $10,000. And because I'm a single contractor, there's no way I can fight against her. There's nothing I can do about it. Until I found these guys that are on my side. And it's not easy to work for somebody who has money and you don't have any money to fight against them. I know you guys get paid. You work for your check every single weekend or every 15 days. Sometimes we not. We work and we have to walk away because intimidation. Because we are afraid. That's it.
Thank you. Santiago Tovar.
Hello, my name is Santiago Tovar. I is coming to here to say something like, I don't like the case when Armando, he working hard to do this project in the school, and he still not see the money in his pocket. So his family, he's still waiting for his money. I'm working hard, and I have family. I got a son in a school, in metro schools, and I don't feeling right at the time that I see that happen when the people come in just to stealing and clean his hands to say something like, I'm not hearing to him. What happened? Where the money going? Where he do the job? He had to get the pay to get his money to pay the family food, the rent, the bills, and everything. And I don't feeling right. Like it's gonna be good to do that. And I don't think Orion is got to get that contract because at the time he don't pay for the work he do. How he gonna get another contract? Why are we gonna teach him to the kids? Stealing? I don't think it's the best way to do it. I don't think that is right to do it. And I'm feeling sad about that because I have my kid and I can say nothing good about that. I talk to my kids sometimes and I say, hey, what happened if I not get my pay for this work? He feeling sad because he's waiting to get his food, his rent and everything, and everybody's clean his hands to say nothing like Orion, he want to pay. Why he got to sign it? He do the job. He don't have to sign it, nothing because he do the job. He's got pictures. He got everything. He got pictures. He got videos. He got everything. What we got to wait for? I don't think it's a good idea to wait in more time. If he not pay, Orion not pay that, he not get the contract. That's what I'm thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio Duran.
Buenas tardes.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Vengo a apoyar al señor Armando porque no se le ha pagado lo que le deben, pues.
I am here to support Armando, because he wasn't paid for his work.
Y es que el trabajo que se le hace, nosotros lo hacemos por necesidad, venimos a trabajar y queremos, sí, ellos.
We're working out of necessity. We're here, we come to this country to work.
Ellos nomás se les hace fácil no pagar y uno lo hace por necesidad, tiene que pagar uno todo.
But so many companies, they just think it's so easy to cheat us and to just not pay us for our work.
Nomás gracias.
Thank you.
Eso es todo.
Thank you. Paulina Rodriguez.
Yo vengo a apoyar a Armando porque pues no es justo que no le hayan pagado su dinero.
I am here to support Armando because I do not think it's fair that he hasn't been paid for his work.
Él hizo su trabajo, él igual ya necesita su dinero, tiene una familia que sostener.
He did his work, he was not paid for it, he has a family to support, he has children.
Y pues no es justo.
I really just don't think that's fair.
Gracias.
That's it.
Thank you. Andrew Ricard.
Good evening, Chair, Dr. Battle, and members of the board. My name is Andrew Record. I teach at Apollo Middle, and I'm going to read a statement from an educator who couldn't take the risk to be here tonight. My name is Tara Pring. I'm the literacy coach at AZ Kelly and a 16-year veteran of MNPS. If my name sounds familiar to you, it's because Mr. Record shared my plea with you at your last meeting. He told you about my high-risk husband with a rare lung disease and my daughter with an autoimmune disease. He told you how I was approved as high risk by your third-party accommodation system and how I was subsequently denied those accommodations by my school's administration. I followed all MNPS procedures. I fought hard and advocated for myself, and I was told no, I may not work virtually as an elementary literacy coach, even though I have friends in MNPS who are doing exactly that. I am the educator who emailed board members, who pleaded with the head of workplace safety and my own administrator, who copied Dr. Battle's email address, who reached out to several central office employees to share my story to help protect my life, my husband's life, and my daughter's life. And here I am still, pleading for someone to listen. Tell me, what is the point of these processes? of your paperwork and your public comment time? What is the point when the people who follow them are just ignored? What is the point of these procedures? And I'm just speaking for myself now. I think that applies to Armando too, since it was almost exactly a year ago that he first came to y'all with a big rally, and when you promised to help him. So I spoke with several of you this week who said you're on the fence about whether to award Orion a contract after they stole $40,000 from the people who build our schools. You said you're on the fence because of legal reasons. So what I want to say to that is there's a difference between what is right and what is legal. And I'm sure as members of the board,
Thank you for your
you're well
time.
aware of this. My statement is 3 minutes.
We have 2 minutes.
Your website said 3 minutes.
It does, and that's my apologies. Because of the length of the number of public participation today, we
So
reduced it down to 2
it was
minutes.
too much democracy for y'all? So you just cut it? Is that how it works?
We appreciate your passion. Please feel free to email us or come back or even call us.
Abstain on the Orion contract. It's the least you can do.
Thank you for your time. Rebecca Blank.
Good evening, Dr. Battle, Chair. My name is Becca, and I teach at Margaret Allen Middle School. First, I would ask that you please abstain or vote no on the Orion contracts. And second, I would like to read a statement from Kimberly Howell, who teaches at Bellshire Design Elementary and couldn't be here tonight. And she says, "My father has COPD and emphysema. He is being tested for lung cancer in the upcoming week. I'm having to miss spending the last bit of his life with him in fear of giving him COVID, which will kill him even quicker. I am also risking taking COVID home to my husband and children, one which has a heart issue and one who is only 2 years old. My husband and I have discussed and are weighing the option of me taking a leave of absence if we or I do not go back virtual and my father has cancer and begins treatments. I do not want to miss out on what time I have with him, and I need to help care for him. I am buying hand soap for my classroom sink because my dispenser is broken and laying on the sink counter. My classroom restroom's toilet paper is just laying out also, not in a dispenser, because no one knows where the key is. I work late several evenings a week and have not seen anyone in my room wiping down or sanitizing anything in, just me. I risk my family every day when I should not be. I asked, explained, and offered proof to be virtual and never got a response from my building administration about my request, not one word. I have had 4 students now get sick with other things, cold, flu, so on. They have each missed 2 to 3 weeks of school. Please just let us go back to virtual. It is too much danger to our students, staff, faculty, and families."
Thank you. Carly Brantley.
Hello, my name is Carly Brantley and I teach virtual choir at H.G. Hill Middle School. I'm here today to urge you to return elementary schools to virtual learning until it is safe. I have heard many arguments for why physical school is better, yet I ask the same question. How many lives is MNPS willing to risk before the sacrifice becomes too great? Today in Nashville, there are twice as many active COVID cases as there were in the spring. The hundreds of quarantine MNPS teachers and students scare me, and so I ask, how many will it take? We understand parents worry their children are losing valuable learning time and personal connections. We know math and reading scores are not the only losses our children have faced this year. Adapting to meet students' needs in a pandemic is difficult, especially when Metro government has chronically underfunded us for decades. Teachers worry about our students' mental health, but who worries about us? During a pandemic that has killed hundreds of thousands, preaching teacher self-care to remedy the risk of our lives is thoughtless. We cannot inspire if you cannot ensure our health. We miss real school too. We miss connecting with our students. My heart broke when I saw the look on my students' faces as I described the COVID protocols for in-person school. They had no idea of the harsh reality they would return to. Many in-person kids are working on laptops in classrooms where they are confined to a taped-off box on a floor for 8 hours a day. Classrooms are small and can only manage feet of space between desks and chairs. When a teacher has to quarantine, students return to the virtual school and must once again navigate that class solely online. Is this the in-person school we wanted children to return to? So why not wait until we can ensure that all are safe? As we have seen, reopening schools too soon leads to further disruptions when schools again must close. Why not reevaluate our priorities by focusing on opening safely instead of quickly? We are all on the same side. We want what is best for students, but if we ignore the science, I repeat my earlier question, how many lives are you willing to risk?
Thank you for your time. Jorge Salas.
Hello, my name is Jorge. Time and time again, when we have asked you to do right by Armando, you say that it's more complicated than that. But it's really not. The party who benefited from someone's labor is responsible to ensure that person gets paid. It's as simple as that. Our schools were built on stolen labor and Orion profited off of it. You are responsible for the wage theft that's happening at our schools. Fix it. On the matter of the NDA, thank you, Abigail Taylor, for your words at the last meeting. No contract involving public works should require a non-disclosure agreement. We as constituents have the right to know every single act of corruption that happens within our schools. And if Armando wants to tell every person in Nashville about the great injustice that happens to him, he should have the right to do so. On whether you can be held legally liable if you do not give Orion new contracts, you're the ones that got us into this mess because you voted to give Orion that $5 million contract this summer. And on that count, shame on you. Shame on you for condoning wage theft. So figure it out. That's why we pay your lawyers. Metro gets sued all the time. Make it worth it. The subcontracting system where companies hire other companies who hire the workers for the lowest price and everybody takes a cut is designed to exploit and steal from workers, and you're part of that system because you give contracts to the lowest bidder, or shall I say Orion's best friend, David Profit, chooses it for them. Make it make sense. You must change this. You must ensure that no other worker gets their wages stolen with impunity ever again at an MNPS construction site. By the way, Armando didn't get manipulated by some allies. He's the mastermind behind the campaign, and for you to assume otherwise is incredibly condescending. Think about how your words play into class and ethnic stereotypes. Thank you, Abigail Taylor, Emily Masters, Frida Player Peters, and Fran Bush for committing to do something about this shameful chapter in MNPS history. Everyone else, we need you to vote with your conscience today.
Thank you for your time.
As Dr. Martin Luther King said,
Anna
our
Flores.
budgets are moral documents. Where we spend our money says who we are as human beings.
Anna Flores.
We tonight to be brave and to be courageous. You guys need to do the right thing. I am a proud graduate of MNPS.
Or Oscar Jimenez.
A proud graduate of MNPS. Make me proud tonight. Be brave and be courageous. This is a right and wrong decision.
Or Thomas Sanchez.
Do the right thing.
Buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Beatriz. Soy madre de familia de niños en Metro Nashville Public. La verdad es...
Hi everybody, my name is Beatriz. I am an MNPS mother.
La verdad estoy enterada de lo que está pasando con el señor Armando y es lamentable que esta compañía Orion esté robando no solo a él, está robándonos a todos. Son contratos millonarios.
So I want to speak on behalf of Armando because I am very agitated by the issue. They're not just stealing or exploiting workers, they're exploiting all of us because this is our money.
Entonces, yo estoy aquí para pedirles a ustedes que no firmen el contrato con la compañía Orion. Recuerden que estamos pagando con nuestros impuestos. Esa compañía nos está robando a todos, no solo al señor Armando.
So I am here to ask you that do not approve or do not vote yes on the 2 Orion contracts. This company is using taxpayer dollars. That's our money.
Y que le paguen al señor Armando. Yo creo que estamos aquí para trabajar. Nadie trabaja por gusto. Todos trabajamos por necesidad y no es justo que no se le esté pagando al señor.
So we don't work because it's fun or just because. We are working because of necessity. We have bills to pay, and it is not fair that someone does not get paid for their work.
Es todo lo que tengo que decir para ustedes. No firmen el contrato y que la compañía le paguen al señor Orion. Gracias.
So that's all I'm asking from you. Do not approve those 2 projects if this company does not pay Armando.
Perdón, algo más. Deberían darle el contrato al señor Orion. Nos podríamos ahorrar mucho dinero de nuestros impuestos.
Armando.
Perdón, Armando.
One more thing is like if you really want to save money, like just give the contract to Armando, perhaps. Like he obviously did it for much cheaper.
Thank you. Amanda Kale?
Listo. Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Oscar Jiménez, soy miembro de la organización de Dignidad Obrera.
Good evening, my name is Oscar Jimenez. I am a member of Workers' Dignity.
El día de hoy estoy acá porque acompaño la lucha que realmente está pasando uno de nuestros compañeros, ¿verdad? Y sobre todo velar por sus derechos para que se puedan cumplir, ya que fueron vulnerados por esta empresa de nombre Horayo.
I am here in solidarity because I share the struggle with Armando. I am here because his rights have not been enforced and were in fact violated by Orion.
Además, aprovecho la ocasión para pedir justicia por su caso.
I want to use this opportunity as well to ask for justice in Armando's case.
Y pedirle por último que no firmen ese contrato. Gracias. Es todo.
Lastly, I want to ask you that you abstain from granting Orion another project.
Thank you. Amanda Kale?
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Tomás Flores.
Good evening. My name is Tomás Flores.
Sánchez.
Sánchez.
Estoy aquí porque mi amigo Armando tiene rato que una cierta compañía le debe un dinero y pues creo que no es justo, ¿verdad? Porque nosotros trabajamos porque necesitamos.
I'm here because my friend Armando has had a case where he hasn't been paid for a while. We work because we must, not because we want to.
Si trabaja uno porque necesita uno, si me sobra tiempo, pues voy y me lo gasto en otro lado, ¿verdad?
If I had extra time, I'd rather be doing something else.
Básicamente, pues vengo a apoyarlos para que sean escuchados ellos.
I want them to be heard today.
Y pues pedirles a ustedes que no firmen ese contrato.
I want to ask you to not grant those projects.
Hace 7 años nosotros estábamos en las mismas y se hizo justicia, no porque tuviéramos la razón, simplemente porque está estipulado que pues tenemos derechos.
7 years ago, I also had my wages stolen, and we won that campaign not because we were supposed to, but because we asserted our rights.
Y pues, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board, y buenas noches a todos. My name is Margaret Codina, and I'm an English language specialist at Belshire Elementary School. I'm speaking to you today, both to express my deep concern for the safety of our staff and students, and to suggest possible solutions to the problems we face going forward. I understand that equity in education is an urgent need facing our learners, especially in the virtual setting. My students face tremendous barriers. They're in elementary school, they attend a Title I school, and English is not their primary language spoken in the home. Although these factors are having an impact on my students, the barriers they face are not insurmountable. I am lucky to serve as a school navigator at Belshire. The role of the navigators is to reach out and connect with families to see how we can help them access the resources they need for their students to be successful in school. I think this is a tremendous program that can be built upon to provide equity for all students. Equity means that you give the most to the students who have the least. For my students, I have found that home visits were sometimes necessary to ensure that students were able to log in to their virtual classes. My motto became whatever it takes, and I drove out to homes and worked with students on porches and backyards as needed to make sure that my kids were able to attend classes. I know that attendance has been a major problem with virtual learning. I believe that we need to create an army of navigators who will fan out across the county and connect with struggling students one-on-one to ensure their success. I believe this effort could be supported by any staff member who is not engaged full-time in providing or supporting virtual lessons. If we all adopt the motto of whatever it takes, we can ensure student learning while also ensuring that our students and staff members are safe. I've spent this past month back at school, and that experience has convinced me that we are not currently safe in school, given the current rate of community spread. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Amanda Kale.
Good afternoon, my name is Alondra, and I am a student of Nashville. I have been informed about Armando's situation and the company Orion stealing $43,000 from him and his hard work. I, as a student of Nashville, feel bad for using school services that have not been paid to the people who work day and night to provide them for us, and are technically stolen. This could happen to me, my mom, my dad, or anyone I care for, and that is simply unfair and just. So I am asking for you to not let Orion get that contract once again and pay Armando. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Battle. My name is Amanda Kale, and I am a middle school EL teacher who was elected by my peers to serve as the president of MNEA. And so, as elected people, we find ourselves in a situation where clear moral choice is often clouded by laws and higher authorities. And for us, it's not been totally clear how much the health department and how much MNPS share in responsibility of who decides when to close schools or what metrics are being used. But I need to tell you that the reality is the teachers are losing faith. They're losing faith in your ability to keep them safe. They don't understand why their schools are still open when dozens, sometimes hundreds of people are being quarantined from their school. They're frustrated at how much disruption there is to student learning as teachers constantly shift to cover for quarantined colleagues, or when students go 14 days without a teacher in quarantine. They're feeling the price of keeping people in buildings has become far higher than any of the benefits the situation has promised. So, unless we can provide the small class sizes, updated ventilation, and extended paid sick leave necessary to keep everyone safe, and we can't because there isn't any funding to do that, we need to default to classes that don't jeopardize health and safety. We're not in the business of conducting medical experiments on students and teachers. We need to return to what we know how to do, educate. We need to focus our limited resources on providing the supports necessary for every student to succeed in a virtual setting, and then reignite that fight for funding to make sure everyone succeeds. The other thing that brings me here tonight is also about moral choice. Armando Arzate came to MNEA in the fall of last year seeking solidarity in his quest for fighting wage theft. And I'm still here. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next speaker.
Mi nombre es Vanessa Dafne.
My name is Vanessa Daphne.
Estoy aquí en apoyo de Armando.
I'm here to support Armando.
Es indignante para mí que ustedes como junta directiva de la escuela
I am indignant to come before you as a school board.
que ustedes son las personas que dan el ejemplo a los maestros, a los alumnos,
You're the ones who are supposed to give an example to the teachers and to the students.
que no hayan tomado acción en su caso,
He didn't take action in his case.
ya que lleva un año exigiendo que se le haga justicia y ustedes son la mesa directiva los que deben de actuar para que esto se lleve a cabo.
He's been demanding justice for more than a year, and you're the ones who can make that decision, and yet you have not.
Al poder retener los contratos de Orion hasta que se le pague a Armando ese dinero,
We need you to abstain from giving Orion more contracts until Armando gets paid.
ya que es una lucha que ha sido desgastante para él económicamente,
This fight has taken a humongous toll on him economically.
Yo soy madre de 3 niños que asisten a las escuelas públicas de Nashville y es triste que mis hijos pregunten acerca de esta situación y poderles explicar por qué está pasando todo esto.
I am a mother of 3 MNPS children, and it's really sad for me that I have to explain to them why this is happening to our friend Armando.
Así es que de mi parte les pido en apoyo a Armando que por favor tomen acción, tomen la decisión de poder apoyarlo y ayudarlo en lo que él está pidiendo.
I am asking you from myself and from Armando that you take a decision that supports him and supports justice.
Ya que ustedes tienen el poder de tomar la decisión que esto cambie.
You have the power to take a decision that can change this.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, hello, members of the board, Dr. Battle. Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Keel. I teach social studies at Oliver Middle School. I'm here to talk about reopening plans at the middle school level. Since summer, schools were told they needed to figure out what worked best for their reopening plan. For my school, our amazing admin team worked closely with FAC and focused on 2 priorities, health and safety and relationships. Wanted to keep health and safety at the forefront, knowing all the setbacks that we had, while also focusing on consistent relationships and support. We know consistency matters. It matters so much, in fact, we spent tons of money and time making sure we put a laptop in the hand of every student so that no matter what happened this year, there would be minimal disruption to learning. Whether in person or remaining virtual, no one would be getting a different experience, no one would be getting more or less, and no one would need to feel left out. So recently we've been getting pushback and pressure from people who demand that in-person students would exclusively have in-person teachers regardless of who chose what. And so we're being asked to reevaluate our plan, put virtual with virtual, in-person with in-person. I would be one of those in-person teachers, but although I'm going back, literally half of my students will not be. And so I'm going to have to lose my students who did not choose that. It was chosen for them by their families. And so now we're being asked to make all these changes, and for what? 4 Williamson County high schools have had to switch to virtual this week due to staffing problems. We cannot guarantee that this would be consistent, that this would stay this way all year. We're going to throw those relationships to the side. So my question is, do parents, students, teachers even realize that if and when we return this year, it's not going to look normal, that we're not picking up where we left off in March? Like, I truly cannot wait to go back into the classroom. I cannot wait to get back to all my simulations and all my favorite moments from the year, but like none of those things are happening this year. They can't. We can't share supplies or materials. We can't break health and safety procedures. We can't afford to cut corners. So there's pressure for us to make these changes. So what happens when we get into the classroom and those same people find out that we're still using online stuff? Will they pressure us further into changing the way we're doing things?
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yvonne Santos.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Yvonne Santos, and I am the front desk receptionist at Liberty Collegiate Academy. And I've had the pleasure of being a member of the Republic family for a little bit over a year. Reflecting on my experiences growing up and during middle and high school, I wish my mom had the choice to enroll me in an excellent public school with the same values as Republic, and here are some reasons why. Every single scholar is given the opportunities no matter what their background and ethnicity are. Some scholars are set up for success from the moment they enroll at school. Republic has a very rigorous academic curriculum. We teach above grade levels so that all scholars can grow. Scholars are challenged academically every single day, whether it's in math, literacy, science, history, or computer science, no matter if they are behind grade level or have an individual educational plan. Our teachers are invested and focused on every student. Every single classroom is named after a college, and scholars learn about colleges to get them invested in the future at such an early age. Liberty is one of the middle schools with the highest percentage of Latino families at Republic. A lot of our new families are referred by families that have either had or have their children attend our school at almost 40%. As a Latina woman, it is very important to me to see families like mine and kids like me be advocated for. Republic provides that for so many of our families and communities. The best part of my job is listening to stories from scholars who have moved to this country knowing no English, and even with the language barrier, they feel welcomed. Their teachers are so passionate about reading that many of them master the language in less than a year. One example is a student named Santiago. He joined Liberty in the middle of the last school year. He knew no English, and at times he would cry in the front office with me. He was terrified to go to classes, not because he did not want to be there, but because he did not understand anything. He started taking advantage of the resources he had at Liberty, and he knew reading would help him master the language. Santiago is now an 8th grader, and even with the many challenges he has with COVID-19.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Alberto? Amanda?
Hello, my name is Amanda Baker. I'm a first grade teacher with MNPS. I came here today in support of moving to full virtual learning. I think I can speak for many elementary teachers right now in saying that we feel very abandoned and betrayed. We fought so hard to support many of you, but in return, we've been thrown under the bus. So I'm hoping now that parents are listening to this and can hear what is happening in our elementary schools. We have a problem. When there are over 1,000 people quarantined in a district, there's a problem. Yet the district is pretending that all is well, releasing reports that are not only inaccurate, but not cumulative, so they don't show the full number of people quarantined. The number of cases quarantined right now and cases are staggering and ridiculous. Many schools are barely functioning at this point. How can it not be safe for some students, but safe for others? We have classrooms that are at capacity with little to no distancing, kids sitting for multiple hours with little to no movement to try to decrease the spread. We have 6 students coming in daily, showing multiple signs of COVID. Do you know what it's like to play Russian roulette COVID style? We do. Some kids are sent home, some are not. The safety measures are inconsistent across the district. Many times no one is quarantined and no parents are notified of the sickness within the classrooms. And we pretend like it didn't happen to try to not cause panic. But we know that people are dying daily from it. I cannot protect my students, myself, and my family while I'm in the classroom. I walk an exhausting fine line every day of wanting so badly to be with my students, but also don't feel like I should have to sacrifice my life or anyone that I love to do so. What you are asking us to do right now is inconceivable. How do you as a district create guidelines for reopening and completely ignore the guidelines set forth? This is not healthy. It's not okay. I'm asking you to please hear me. Hear us. We are in the classrooms. We know what happens daily.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Susan Floyd?
Board members, Dr. Battle, esteemed colleagues, my name is Susan Floyd. I'm a 35-year veteran teacher at Andrew Jackson Elementary. With multiple high-risk underlying health conditions, I was only granted full virtual accommodations 40% of teaching days. I was deemed an essential worker because I teach PE. I speak today because so many classes cannot socially distance their kids using 6-foot CDC guidelines. One has desks 2.5 feet apart. Others sit together at tables with a piece of painter's tape dividing them. A related arts class has chairs 2 feet apart. We have seating charts, but they're too close. It seems that each school is tasked at doing their own thing, even though no school has an epidemiologist on staff. Some feel safe, some do not. Question is, why should a teacher have to choose between losing our job, our health, our lives, or what we know is best for kids? I beg you tonight to create a win-win situation for all of us, whether it be spacing, cleaning, or planning. When it comes to the virus, we have to win every time. The virus only has to win once. Right now, we are losing.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Turnus, and my address is 2207 Hermosa Street, 37208. I addressed y'all here almost a year ago, twice, in November and December, to urge you to use the positions to which you were elected to ensure that a man who helped build the physical foundation of education in Nashville be paid for his work. Since summer of 2019, Armando Arzate has been seeking $43,000 for the work that he and his team did on McMurray Middle School. A year ago, that was pretty much all we were asking y'all to address. But y'all spent the year neglecting your responsibility to some of the most vulnerable members of the community that allows MNPS to function. Y'all and David Prophet tried to sweep this under the rug by helping Orion coerce Armando via an NDA into signing off on Orion's lies and signing away his ability to warn other workers of Orion's exploitation. Some have said that he should have just taken the money and signed the NDA. Of course he didn't sign the NDA. Of course not. Armando cares about justice and his fellow workers. That shouldn't have to mean sacrificing his rightful earnings. Meanwhile, over the course of the year, your problem has grown bigger than just Armando. Over the past year, it's become clear that the whole RFP process needs to be reformed. It's become clear that Orion's ability to get repeat contracts from MNPS has to do with something other than their past performance and their suitability to serve public interest and receive public funds. Workers and teachers alike are questioning where the MNPS board's priorities truly lie. Imagine how much bigger this will get the longer you wait to do something about it. You have a choice. You can step up now. You can make your actions match the words of concern that you have shared. You can abstain from the vote to approve Orion's contracts. You can demand that Armando is paid before MNPS works with Orion again. You can see to it that the process is changed so that others don't have to experience what Armando has experienced, and y'all don't have to deal with the fallout of another unscrupulous contractor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Susan?
Good evening, board members and Dr. Battle. My name is Susan Saar. I live at 6245 River Valley Drive. I'm a teacher at Gower Elementary School, which, by the way, it's going very well for me. I am face-to-face. I come to you tonight not because I think all voices are being heard by the public. I think there's a select few. I don't wish to lessen any of the seriousness of the virus or the opinions. I know they're real. But I do want you to hear the voice of other teachers, other parents, and children that are face-to-face, and it is actually going well. Some of the population should be managed case by case, independently. The parents who have lost jobs and are risking losing their jobs are terrified. We have limited child care and an increase for mental health care. In some areas, the one I work in, for example, we're hemorrhaging families. They're going to cohorts of homeschool, they're going to private school, and they're just leaving the district, and we can't afford that. I do agree that we should look at schools independently and manage them the way that we need to, if that's with tracing, quarantining, closure, but to do it as a whole, it's just ineffective and it's unjust. As a matter of fact, it feels very punitive. I'm not without understanding that schools could gain health and my school could deteriorate. That's truly a fact. I would expect our situation to be evaluated independently, just as I'm asking you to do that of others. I will also add, I'm not on the outside of having concerns for loved ones. I have a daughter with an autoimmune, and I have a sick mother, and it affects me. But it's taught me adversity looks you in the face, and you should love life, and you should live, and you shouldn't stop. And I will not blame you if I get the flu. I will not blame you if I get COVID. But I'm here to do a job you hired me for, and it's going well. I love my kids. And I'm sorry that I'm a little emotional, but thank you. And think of them independently, because my kids need me and I need them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we thank all those past speakers. What's your name?
Just like her attitude.
Aren't you speaking on behalf of someone else that was on the list and you switch out with somebody?
No, the gentleman said, just like she was, I was added to the end of the agenda.
Oh, that was incorrect. I told you you registered too late. You told me you were gonna speak in somebody else's place.
Yes, ma'am. The security guard told me to get in
That
line.
was incorrect.
All right then. I appreciate you.
We do have public participation the first meeting in December as well. Thank you to all those who spoke. Now we will move on to governance issues with actions and consent. Do I have an amendment to the consent agenda, or do I have a motion to approve?
I would like to ask that we amend by pulling the Orion contracts off to vote on them separately.
All right, so we're pulling B8, the Orion Building Corporation 2 contracts. All right, do I have a motion to approve with this amendment?
I move approval of the agenda with the said adjustment.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor of accepting the consent agenda as amended, please raise your hand. All right, that's 8 yeses. All right, so we will begin by discussion of Orion Building Corporation by having Mr. Jeff Gossage. I'm sorry, actually our attorney, I'm sorry, sorry, Mr. Gossage. Melissa Roberge, I know you've had quite a few questions from us the past couple of weeks, or really the past year. Please feel free to come to the podium.
Jeff and I look a lot alike, so I imagine this probably is not my last time up here, but I did want to start by giving this board a brief update on the contracts that you all are considering. While we believe that those contracts are strong, the legal department and the procurement department are going to be working together to make them even stronger and presenting this board with new language that will be contained in this contract. I know last time there was a lot of discussion about what's next, and that's what's next.
Just a question. You said new language that would be in these contracts or future contracts?
They would be in future contracts.
Thank you for that update. Mr. Gossage?
You had asked me or requested, I think, 2 meetings ago to hear a little overview of the RFP process as well as the 2 contracts that are before you today.
Yes.
And so we'll walk through those. Oh. Clicker, yeah, all right. When we look at, before we talk about just that RFP, I want to talk about just the overall the procurement process. We have several acquisition instruments to use, and one of those is the purchase order. It is typically based on specifications and requirements, but it has low dollar. It is what it's used for. And it is usually driven by or governed by the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. And we're typically talking about products, so it's pretty easy to manage those. The next one is contracts, and contracts basically are risk mitigation tools. We have a variety of those, and I'm just hitting the highlights here, but one-time performance, you could talk about a building. Multiple award, where we have several suppliers selected, and then there's a process for getting it down to the one. And then indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. Now, and that one, think about things like office supplies. We know we're going to need office supplies, but I have no idea how many scissors or which scissors we're going to buy. So the IDIQ contracts. We also are seeing an increase in the P-card purchases that take place. That's mainly because a lot of business transactions are now having to be done online. However, we do use the Oracle ERP system for approvals before we make that purchase. The procurement department is the one that actually uses the P-card, but the approvals happen by management, so we know that they've been approved. And then MOUs, I just included it because it is one of the contracting tools that we use. It is non-binding and typically is between governmental agencies and or maybe between us and the state school. That's the kind of idea for MOUs. The sourcing methodology that we use are small purchase quotes, and those are by law, those under $10,000. You often see those done by schools. They have to submit 3 quotes, and they have to award it to the lowest one of those. Those are typically very small purchases. We could do the invitation to bid, which I talked about a second ago. It usually ends up in a PO, and that is a commodity type purchase, a chair. You're sitting in a chair, it's a black chair. We need 10, 15 of those delivered to this room on XYZ date. We really don't care beyond that. We just need the lowest price. That makes sense because we're just looking at commodities. Then we have a request for proposal. Request for proposal still considers cost, but it's looking at other factors as well. Typically, cost is 30 to 35 points out of 100. Rarely ever is it more than that. Then we have the qualification-based selection. The QBS is used for a selection of an A&E. That's an architect and engineer. It may be used for an attorney. It could be used for a doctor. Quality is what you're going for there. You're not going for cost at all. In fact, in the A&E case, it is actually prohibited from being used by state law. We do negotiate price afterwards, and if that price is not acceptable, we can drop down to the next highest scoring in the QBS process. Sole source, we do have sole sources. If you thought about the Oracle system that we use, if we upgraded it or added a bolt-on to it, we're going to not replace a very expensive system with a smaller purchase. So we're going to add it to it, it'll be a sole source. More often, the sole source is a sole brand. Think about an Apple product. You're going to buy an Apple product, but you have a variety of Apple dealers to get it from, and you'll get them to compete with Apple. You typically end up with the same price, but we do go through that process. And then cooperative contracting. This is one that has been accused of being a no-bid contract, and it's the furthest thing from that. Some governmental agency has done their process by an open competitive process to select it, and then within the state, we're able to tag onto their contract if there are provisions in their contract to provide it. We include those provisions in many of ours that allow other school districts or other cities to come in and use our contracts.
Can I ask a question about that? Is that okay?
Yes.
If you don't mind, can we let him go through this and then he'll stay up there for the question? No, you're good.
That's why I asked.
Thank you.
The request for proposal, the specific one we're talking about here, begins with a scope of work. What is it we're buying? How much of it? What is the conditions of it? And then beyond that, really are the performance outcomes. If we're talking about professional development, are we talking about the hours of professional development that would be provided, or are we talking about the achievement a student needs to have? Depending on what that outcome is, that influences the evaluation criteria. Now, we do have templates that we use, and we are pulling on some of the same evaluation criteria, but they need to be tweaked and to meet that specific need. You wouldn't use the same thing for IT that you would use for food service. So we wouldn't follow the same practice there. We include a sample contract. It is as best we can tied to that solicitation so they know what they're proposing. An evaluation committee is formed, and this is by subject matter experts. They could come from multiple disciplines. You can think about curriculum and instruction could want a certain product, but teachers need to decide, is that easy to use? Does it fit their environment? And IT has to look at it to see, does that meet the technical needs of the environment? And we look at the suppliers. They register themselves, and they pick a commodity or more. They can pick multiple commodities. And we look at that product, that service that we're buying, and we look for the commodity code and the suppliers. Sometimes we go backwards. We look for specific suppliers to be sure they're in that commodity code because we may have picked the wrong one, and we do a little bit of each. When we're doing the evaluation criteria, they're looking at quality, we're looking at service, and we're looking at value. So here you see three suggestions for quality, and that's experience, qualifications, past performance. Service might be their business plan, risk identification, the DBE, the diversified business enterprise, what companies they're bringing to the table, and then total cost of ownership. Not the cost, the total cost of ownership, because if we buy something and have to have destruction of that, disposal of it, we've got to factor in that cost as well. The value is not really considered until you look at all of those. And again, cost is only 30 to 35 points out of 100. The others will share those depending upon the weights. There is a statutory selection process set out by the TCA, Tennessee Code Annotated. First is the proposal, the offer, responsive? And by that, did it answer the questions that were asked? Did they fill it out in the way we asked? Did they provide the numbers, the cost and all? Then responsibility, are they responsible? We've looked at the offer, is it responsive? Then we're looking at the offerer, are they responsible? By responsible, we're talking about, do they have the license to do the work they're doing? It's not going beyond that. It is looking at the legal minimum requirements for that. We distribute those proposals out to the evaluation committee. The committee reviews them in light of the criteria, the evaluation criteria. Now, the evaluation criteria is critical because by law, We cannot consider anything outside of those evaluation factors. So my personal experience with the company would not be able to be weighed in. The school's district experience could be, so there is a difference between those two, but I can't use personal evaluation. It's meant to be objective. Then they individually score those based on that evaluation criteria. We sometimes have a meeting to get a consent vote, and that would be because, consensus vote, because there, again, if curriculum and instruction is picking a software and they don't realize that it will crash the network, they need to hear the voice of IT for that. But IT is not picking the curriculum, so they both may have a voice in it. And then the evaluation committee makes a recommendation for award. Now, the contracts that are developed do not encumber the funds. We do put down a not to exceed or what that transaction is going to be, but we don't encumber the money. The money is not encumbered until a purchase order is cut. So when you're looking at IDIQ, it may be $3 million, but we may spend $1 million, may spend, whatever, until we hit that $3 million. When we hit the $3 million, it comes back for an amendment from you, and you're able to sit there and go, yes, we're going to amend it. The purchase order is issued. That's permission to the supplier to perform. The PO encumbers that expense, and it limits or lessens the budget availability, so we can't come back and overcommit. We already know what our commitments are and then how those have to align. The supplier performs the work. The department receives it, basically acknowledges that the services were performed or the products came. The supplier will invoice us. An AP will voucher that invoice for payment. Payments may be delayed pending a resolution if there is a performance issue. If something has gone wrong, we try to get that fixed. We're not going to pay for it until it is right. Suppliers may be cited in breach of contract if they refuse to do the correction, and we push that against that. The supplier is afforded the opportunity to cure the breach. Those are legal requirements, again, under the TCA. We really don't have much room on that, but it's reasonable, too. They need to be able to correct it. We can, if we're not satisfied with the performance, cancel the contract. That's a requirement by state law that we carry 3 cancellations: funding, convenience, and then breach of contract. We can suspend or debar. Suspension means the supplier cannot bid while they're working through a resolution of an issue. Debarment can go up to 3 years, and debarment is a response to either an illegal action, a tax evasion, some kind of fraud, a very egregious activity. Both of those can be challenged. There is an administrative way to challenge those. And then the final one is to resolve something in court. Now, it was determined when we were looking at the grading and site utility work that the RFP would be the best process because we weren't looking at just low cost. We were looking at quality as well as cost. So we're looking at the quality for their service. It was determined that we needed multiple awards. Given Nashville's dynamics for construction, it is highly unlikely that if we have a small grading project that all of the suppliers awarded a contract will want to bid on it. And so we need to have multiple ones or we box ourselves into a corner. It was also determined that IDIQ was the best way to go about that, simply because we don't know how many times we're going to have to grade something. It could determine because of a landslide that takes place. And then the project would be a specific award based on that project. Let me see if I can kind of explain that a little bit better. And this will show it. We had quality criteria in the evaluation. There were performance indicators, company information, and project plan and approach. We had service issues that were looked at, and they were past performance, diversity business plan, and the contract exceptions. Contract exceptions do not carry a weight with them, but it does allow us to come back and say you're asking for something that is way outside of anything we can accept. If you look at that, 65% was on quality, 35% was on service. And that last one, value, you'll notice there's absolutely nothing there. We made the contract awards based on this information. Now, when a specific project comes up, It will then be bid out. It's a project-specific cost, and then that could be affected by market demand and supplier availability, site requirements and supplier abilities, schedule demands, and supplier capacity. Those are market demand things that just fluctuate, and we don't know how that cost is going to come out. One supplier may be significantly lower on one project, but higher on the next. The low bid would be the award that takes place among the qualified suppliers. So this ensures the best value engagement. If we were to have a standing price for work and we don't even know how big it is or how small it is, you would be paying well in advance. It would be marked up in such a way that you could not cover from that. In the grading one, there were 5 contracts awarded. The only one that has not been approved by the board is Orion. In the case of the site utility, there were 4 suppliers chosen, and only one that was not selected was Orion. And I'll stop as to what that would mean if we didn't do that. I think that may be more of a legal remark.
Okay, thank you for this. So before we begin discussion, we do need a motion on the floor, but again, rules of engagement. We're gonna have 3 rounds. Now, you can ask multiple questions in your round, but please try to be mindful of just time and each other. That's really it for me. Do I have a motion on the floor? Whatever you want to do. If you want to move to vote for this contract, if you want to move that we vote against the contract, I mean, it could be a little bit of everything. So a motion has to be made before a discussion can happen. So the motion may not necessarily be binding, but we have to have one to begin discussion. So what say you? All right, I move that we approve the contract. Do I have a second? Again, this is for discussion, if nothing else. All right, so we will open the floor to discussion. Please just raise your hand if you'd like to speak. If you have a question specifically for Mrs. Roberge or for Mr. Gossage, please just make sure you eyeball Dr. Battle first. Discussion. Dr. Gentry.
Thank you. Ms. Roberge, if you please, if it's okay. So I just want to be very clear again, in spite of all of the decontextualized commentary that was repeated from the podium today. I want to be very clear about a couple of things. I want us to understand clearly what any action on our part with regards to this contract means. What happens if we, and I guess because of the concerns several board members have about a previous contract that has already been paid and resolved, work completed, what does our denial of this contract mean? But before you respond to that question, I do have a statement I want to make, and I want to be very clear about something. And I've said this several times, and so this is primarily for people who are new to the board. I am the daughter of a man for whom English is his second language. Never sat in a formal classroom. Worked as a shipbuilder and was exposed to asbestos. Got to the point where he could not function and do manual labor, which was all he was skilled to do. I tell you personally and succinctly without hesitation that if anyone had suggested to my father to not accept the compensation that would have kept food on his family's table and a roof over his family's head, I would be upset. If anyone had asked my father to martyr himself for the greater good, that would be the moral issue for me. And that's the moral issue for me. It is not about Orion. It is about Armando. It is that Armando has felt the need and is supported in making a decision that's keeping him from getting the compensation that, by his own words, is affecting he and his staff from feeding their families and paying their mortgages. So whatever it is we choose to do, we need to ensure that, based on the response we get from Ms. Roberge, that we are positioning ourselves, because our obligation, and this is always the challenge, and I say this often as well, being an elected board member, we are here to support the district and to take care of the system. And we're here to represent a constituency. Sometimes those things don't always align, and it's hard, and it sucks. And so that is really the fundamental decision many of us are going to have to make today. Are we here to protect the district and its reputation among the vendor community? Because that's what it's going to ultimately come down to. How we respond to this, other vendors and other contractors' willingness to work with us. Not saying that's to stop us from making any changes and modifications, just understanding what we're willing to live with in the decision that we make. The other part of this is we do have a constituency that we say often, that we understand from the days of when the DACA issue was first brought to us, and we made resolutions and statements about protecting and standing behind the immigrant community. None of us wants to see an individual, a family, a community disenfranchised because people think it's okay, right? My father, they thought it was okay because he couldn't read. They thought it was okay because he couldn't speak really good English to offer him less than what he was due and what was needed for him to take care of his health. Today, my father is a 2-time stroke victim. He's had TTP issues. He cannot walk. He cannot care for himself. And it all stems from that moment. But we would not be able to take care of him had he not said yes and accepted the funds and allow us to do some things to put him in a better position today. So I want us to be mindful of the bigger picture. And sometimes taking a lot of flack from a podium is what's necessary when we do the right thing and we take the stand. And let me take that back. When we make decisions that are hard, right or wrong. I'm not trying to qualify anybody's position. But we stand often as elected members of this school board with feet in two spaces. Are we doing what's best for the district? Are we doing what's best for someone who cast a vote on our behalf? Ms. Roberge.
The situation at McMurray Middle School should not be a factor in this board's determination on these two contracts that are before you. Either a denial or a de facto denial by abstention and failure to get enough votes for approval could and likely would result in a successful legal challenge and opening the district up to liability.
Thank you. Other comments? Rachel Lynn? Oh, and then Berthena, or Dr. Devon McKinney. Okay, Can I choose maybe the other one?
You have a different mic. You got on.
I have two microphones, so we have a technical issue, sorry. Okay, so there's a couple things I want to make sure that we're clear about, as there have been multiple stories of accusations and just conversations of how this happened. So first I want to make sure that we're clear, since the conversation continues to be about Armando, even though I hear our legal representative saying that it should not be, is that Armando, which is RSA, is a sub of a sub for Orion. So Orion was paid, and they were paid by us at MNPS because there were no claims on our payment bond. So all things were appearing to be fine. There were no claims on that payment bond. So we paid Orion. Orion had paid that subcontractor, Joe Haas, and Joe Haas chose not to pay Armando or RSA. Joe Haas, we found out after the fact about a year ago, as was stated tonight, because the payment bond was not claimed towards. And so we did as a board all agree that it was terrible and that something should be done. And so therefore, we as a board decided to see what could be done, and that's why there was the conversation with Orion, and there was the private party money that was exchanged. And though I understand the conversation that it's tax dollars, it's no longer tax dollars when it's now between two private parties because we paid them. And so we don't have the ability to negate that non-disclosure. My concerns here are the risk that we put MNPS into because it's not, though I know we are not supposed to consider Orion, it is not Orion didn't pay, it's that Orion paid somebody, Joe Haas, and then Joe Haas didn't pay RSA. And so it is difficult to understand that timeline because there's a lot of moving parts there. And I also want to make sure that we're clear that there's this payment bond. Orion offered to pay, and they declined that payment as well. And my concern is that we're going to be taking on a lot of potential monetary damage and ramifications with considering that in these contracts, particularly because we have not considered that in previous contracts. I think it sets us up for retribution. And so my questions, I hear that there's potentially language going forward. I'm curious of what that language may be, if we can share that, and why was it not done earlier? And then my second question, if allowed, is if we choose not to approve these individual or together Orion contracts, does that get Armando his money?
I'm just writing them down so I have notes for myself. So with regards to the language in the contracts, I want to make a distinction between the contracts that were used for McMurray Middle School and the contracts that you're considering today.
Yes.
The contract for McMurray Middle School was a general contractor agreement for a large-scale project. The general contractor subs out a lot of the work. These, as Jeff explains, are IDIQ contracts, indefinite quantity, indefinite duration, meaning we know we're going to need something, we just don't know how much or when. Just kind of two separate issues. With these IDIQ contracts, we are constantly reviewing contracts, myself and the procurement department, to make sure that we are doing best practices. So as part of that review, we have chosen to look at it and see what language we can add to these contracts. I don't have specific language for you today, but we will share that with you as we solidify on what it will be.
Okay. This general language, if we add this, is it possible that we have a new, or I think I know the answer, but I'm still asking the question. If we add this new language, can we still go back and have a new request for quote or request for work?
We could not.
And then
to answer your sort of second question, and also to say this language that we are adding would not necessarily provide additional protection for Armando. As you noted, the payment bond is set up to provide that protection. It is the insurance policy for Armando to get paid, or any subcontractor to get paid and to make a claim on that bond. But regardless of the vote today on these contracts, that is not going to write a check to Armando.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Dr. Nabal McKinney?
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions, so please bear with me. Oh, I'm sorry. I have a few questions, so please bear with me if you don't mind. So I just want to make sure that we are clear about the different contracts. So a general contract is a contract where the general contractor is kind of the overseer over several subcontracts, right? So that could be a subcontractor, a subcontractor, so forth and so on, correct?
They're the overseer of the project, yes.
Project, okay. And then an IDIQ project or contract are smaller contracts that are randomized, or well, randomized is not the word. They are smaller contracts that come up as needed.
As needed, correct.
Okay. So when we go through the RFP process, it looks like there's two different steps that we do for a general contract versus an IDIQ contract as far as the RFP process. Am I correct?
So for the RFP process on an IDIQ contract, we would, if I could maybe click back here a couple slides. So the first part of the process is the selection criteria, and that's where we winnow the list down to those companies that will then be able to bid on the specific work as it comes up. From there, as they bid on the work, we would select the lowest bidder.
Okay. So the contracts that we're currently looking at today are IDIQ contracts. Is
Correct.
Orion the only company that we are looking at for approval for this particular IDIQ contracts?
They are the only contracts that are on this board's agenda. The board has previously approved contracts to the listed contractors that are up there under these RFQs.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, if Orion is voted in to be approved for this contract, does it guarantee that they are necessarily doing the work?
No, it gives them the opportunity to bid on the work, and if they had the lowest bid, they would be awarded the project.
So those who would be accepted to bid on that are the people that are listed up here?
Correct.
Okay, and whoever receives the lowest bid among those that are approved on this contract list would receive the contract?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. I have a follow-up question. I just want to make sure. The language that you had discussed, I know Ms. Elrod had kind of brought that up. But the language, what does the language moving forward on contracts? Because currently, if we change the language, it could not affect current contracts or moving back. It's only those moving forward, right, that have not gone through an RFP process, correct?
It would affect contracts moving forward.
Moving forward. And with that, what is the implication behind that? So what is the implication behind a general contract with a new language? What is the implication behind a IDIQ contract?
I don't know that there is an implication. It's a review that the procurement department and the legal department undertake to make sure that we have the protections in place to protect the district.
What does that look like?
So I don't have specific language for you today with the IDIQ contracts. I will point out that under the general contractor contracts, after this came up, there were substantial revisions made to that general contractor contract, particularly with the subcontractor provision. For example, one of the weaknesses in Armando's case has been that there was not a written contract between him and Joe Haas. Our contract now requires that there be a written contract at the sub level.
Moving forward. Okay. And I'll follow up with a similar question or same question. Is there anything legally that MNPS can do to ensure Armando gets paid?
There's not a legal avenue for MNPS to require that.
Thank you.
Good. All right, Mrs. Masters.
Oh, I'll keep it short. So why do we vote on these at all if there's no legal way for us to deny the contracts once they've been through the process?
So to be clear, I'm not saying that there is no legal way for you to vote not to approve this contract. If there was a flaw in the process, this board could note that flaw and disapprove the entire RFQ. What I am saying is this board cannot use what happened at McMurray Middle School to not approve these contracts. So the board does have discretion. Just in this case, if it exercised discretion on this basis, that would be legally problematic.
I'm not sure how to follow that up, except to say, so in other words, we would have to go back in time to the votes that took place in July and August, and at that point, question the process for it to be a valid argument against these contracts.
To the extent, again, nobody has pointed out a flaw in the process. If there was a flaw in the process at the time the first contracts were awarded, that would have been the appropriate time. But again, this process used a value-based criteria to select this list of contractors, but it would not have been appropriate in July or June when these contracts initially came up to use what happened at McMurray Middle School.
Thank you.
All right, does anybody else have something in this first round before I start letting people step back in? All right, Mrs. Bush?
I'm just going to go on and make my decision. I was elected by the people, for the people. My concerns, my conscience, my morals, my values will not allow me to vote in favor of the Orion contracts. Therefore, I will be abstaining from the vote. And just FYI, I'm going to have to step away after this vote because I have another engagement. So just want everybody to know. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, well, then I will go ahead and say I've struggled to reconcile. We have some? Oh, in this first round, I mean. Okay. So I've struggled to kind of reconcile my feelings here just because, again, it seems like the person who did not pay RSA or Mr. Arzate, they're getting off scot-free. I was sitting on the board when we voted for this, and we were all up in arms. We were all frustrated. We asked Orion if they could help us, if they could do something to help Armando, and they did. So in our minds, they moved forward. They said that they were going to cut ties with the subcontractor that did not pay Mr. Arzate. That not only did they cut ties, but then they offered an additional $43,000 that MNPS could in no way have been able to offer them. So they offered the $43,000. We thought everything was fine. So I've struggled to reconcile the idea or these feelings, but I also understand that even though this is a tough situation or this is one that doesn't feel good, I still have a hard time holding Orion accountable if they've done everything that they were supposed to do. I still want to find, I think there is a way for us to continue to support Armando and support his growth moving forward, or even see if there is another outside entity that has the funding to offer him. But I don't know that we can, or better yet, I know that we can't attach that to Orion. I do think, it was interesting. I've been talking about this anti-racism and this equity policy, and we know that contractors of color, poor contractors just don't seem to get a fair shake in a lot of contracts just around America. So we're looking to do something about that moving forward, and I hope that the policy and the agenda that I work with Mr. Hughes on will address that. But for now, I've just struggled to see how we would hold Orion accountable by not awarding them the contracts, and then I don't understand what that does for Mr. Arzate. So we don't award Orion the contract, he still doesn't get his $43,000, then what? And so for that, not only am I inclined to, but I'll be voting for the Orion contracts. That doesn't mean that we haven't heard or haven't listened to our community. It just means that we disagree on the nuance. With that, Dr. Nabal McKinney, please go right ahead with your second set of questions.
Come on. What constitutes a flaw in the process?
So there could be a flaw in the process if we did not actually put out a solicitation. Let's say Melissa called up her best friend and said, hey, MNPS has a contract to bid on, just go ahead and put it up here. It hadn't gone through the process. That would be problematic. Case law also suggests that if there's a multi-tiered review, that if you skip a tier, that is a flaw in the process that would invalidate the entire contract award. Okay. And would be grounds for the board not to approve it.
Okay. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this payment bond and what it's there for?
Sure. I've had a crash course in construction over the last couple of weeks. Thank you. The payment bond, like I said, is designed to protect labor, suppliers, material men. For government buildings, you cannot put a lien on them. If a private developer went up and built a hotel and the subs weren't paid within strict statutory parameters, they could put a lien on the building, potentially force the sale of the building. For obvious reasons, you don't want to do that with government buildings. And so it's statutorily required that there be a payment bond for any project, I believe, over $100,000. That payment bond is there and allows for a claim to be made on it for 90 days after work is completed. So for 90 days after the project ends, a supplier can come in and say, I haven't been paid surety, the bond company, you need to pay me. There's an entire process set up to kind of adjudicate those claims. And so that was an avenue that was available to RSA. It was an avenue that they did not pursue, and I don't know why.
So currently, there are no claims against the payment bond?
Correct, and that time period would have closed out by now.
Okay, and during that time period, there was no claims to the payment bond?
Correct, and I also want to add that when we finish projects, we get a kind of a stack of papers from our subcontractors that show that they have been paid, and just like any other project, that occurred here.
Are subcontractors and sub-subcontractors aware of this payment bond and the process towards applying for it?
So I don't want to sort of presume to speak for the construction industry, but I will say it is a well-known practice, particularly on government projects, that it is an available avenue.
Okay. I'm sorry. One other question. I lost it. Yes. I lost it. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. And I will add, Mr. Gossage reminded me that for part of their certification with their license, they are told about payment bonds, so they would have knowledge that that is an avenue that they could pursue.
I got it back.
Uh-oh, I should have stopped talking.
It's okay. With the new process and the new implementation on contracts with the updated language that you just referred to, moving forward, how will this help close that so that we won't have this issue moving forward? So on general contracts where they have subcontractors and sub-subcontractors, with the new language that we're looking to implement for MNPS, how will it close that gap so that sub-subcontractors are not being affected or will receive their pay? And what is that implication on the overseer of the project?
Sure, and so again, we're kind of undertaking that review at this time, looking at the bond provisions and seeing what we can do to perhaps make them more readily available is certainly something that the board can look at. But again, this procedure is well-known and is available and designed to provide protections in situations like this. That's why state law requires them. That's why we have them. We want people to get paid on our projects, and we want them to have an avenue that if they aren't paid, that they can get paid, but that avenue is not through asking the board to not approve subsequent contracts.
And this is my last question. I just want to expand upon that. You mentioned earlier with the new language that with general contracts, we will now require our subcontractors and sub-subcontractors to have contracts in place or have.
Correct. So again, under general contracts for large-scale projects, the contract has already been amended so that subcontractors are required to have a written contract that we would be able to access.
Okay, so my follow-up question to that is, if you have a subcontractor in this particular case, under the new regulations and new laws that do not get paid, how will that affect the overseer of the project?
Again, I'm not certain how it would necessarily affect the overseer, but one of the flaws in the proof here is that there isn't a written contract. So it will close that loophole, and that will make it easier for the sub to make a claim on the payment bond or to pursue their own breach of contract action, which they have not done here.
Okay, and then my follow-up to that is, how will that affect future RFP processes if those things aren't happening for that overseer?
So if there are not contracts, if a general contractor is overseeing a project but not requiring subcontractors to have written contracts, that would be considered a breach of our agreement and something that we could redress through breach of contract.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Gentry?
You eventually got through all of what I was going to ask about, so very good. Thank you for that. I just want to hone in on the issue that the problem is because there isn't a written contract between Haas and RSA, he could not have ever tapped into that bond and filed a claim because he didn't have a written contract.
he could have filed a claim. There may have been a proof problem at the end of the day.
And there is a process for oral agreements
Yeah,
as
so he
well.
would have had to go through, but again, you know, I would hope, if I were to throw my 2 cents in on amendment, it's just to ensure that in that written contract, there is language around the bond and the recourse if the contract isn't upheld.
All right, further discussion?
Yeah.
Go right ahead, Ms. Tyler.
Okay, first I have a question for Mr. Gossage. Could you explain a little bit more about the type of contract that you were talking about where we piggyback off the process that somebody else has already put in place? That one where it looks like it's no bid, but it's not?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I can't control the media's positioning of a contract, but they're still wrong. When a contract is competitively awarded, let's say in Knox County, and they have gone through the scope of work, they've done the open competitive, and they've made an award, under state law, we have the ability to tag on to their contract. The common phrase, and I hate to even use it because I scold my staff about it, is piggyback. But using a cooperative contract, you're able to tag on to their contract to implement something for us. But we always have to look at the reasonableness of that. Does it make sense or not?
And then I guess my follow-up to that is that if there are there ever discrepancies between our evaluation criteria and Knox counties or whoever and if there is discrepancies, which one would be the one that would trump as the rule for that group?
And that comes back to another discussion that took place before. If there is a discrepancy, we do have the ability to negotiate that to get it in alignment with what we would have. If it's, going back, if it's a fundamental flaw, they don't require something that we would require. We couldn't tag on to it for that reason.
Okay. That makes sense. Thank you. And then I just wanted to say, so I've spent quite a bit of time over the last 2 weeks digging into our contracts and RFP processes and to see if I could figure out how we've ended up where we are. And I want to thank the patience of Attorney Roberts for answering the millions of questions I've asked her. And also, I want to thank Attorneys Cooper and Cross for taking the time to talk to me this morning. As Mr. Gossage explained earlier, the type of contracts that we're voting on tonight and the kind that was used for the project that has already closed out with Armando are the indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contracts. And they have a faster turnaround between bidding and implementation. And because much of our work is time sensitive, most of our projects use this type of contract. So upon closer examination, it became apparent that the language in the IDIQ contracts was pretty bare bones and basic. And Attorneys Roberts, Cooper, and Cross have all agreed that we should use stronger language in those contracts moving forward. We've already revised them to require that there be written contracts for subcontractors. And if Joe Haas had been required to create that written contract with Armando, neither they nor Orion could play this shell game of responsibility they've been playing. Additionally, as Attorney Roberts explained, legal is in the process of drafting additional language to make clear where the responsibility lies. I've asked that we not award any more contracts without that new language. Should a worker like Armando have a claim of wage theft, the main vehicle for recourse with them are those payment bonds MNPS requires our contractor partners to provide. Because of the issue with Armando, it has become clear that not all of our subcontractors know how to utilize the payment bonds to protect themselves. And I know Attorney Roberts just talked about this, but moving forward, we are going to be looking at our payment bond provisions to make that process more accessible and more available to anybody who works on an MNPS job. By creating a more explicit process around those payment bond provisions and getting the word out to what they mean and why they're important, it will inform any future subcontractors about what the requirements are and what the remedies are regarding recourse. So I think it's really important to note that these changes in all of our contracts will happen moving forward, and these changes will better protect our workers. So I really want to make sure that that is clear to the public and to the rest of the board that what we are doing will be beneficial for all of the workers in the future, and it is important that we're taking care of them. Now, That being said, we're talking about the old contracts. So I was actually not part of the board when the original grading contracts were approved this summer. And the concerns that I've brought up around those contracts since joining the board, I would have brought those up at that time as well. Knowing that I would have requested changes of our old contracts in the summer, I can't be impartial on this one. And just simply because I cannot be impartial on this vote, I will abstain. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mrs. Player Peters?
We've had, I'm going to reiterate what I've said in the past about, the importance of making sure workers are getting paid, that we morally do not support wage theft. And just want to reiterate kind of what I've said in the past of that should be a value of the board, of the district, of that. I've said on the board too, I have intent in the future to address future issues and have a deep dive look and bring forth, particularly through the committee that Chair Buggs supported me in, is to take a really good look at this and survey and see what can be changed, what can be done to prevent this from happening, the situation in the future. It's a complex information, there's different kind of lanes that are happening kind of simultaneously. But I just want to state in the record the same thing I've said in the past, that I think it's an important value that we should uphold, that we don't support wage theft, and that we look into our policies in the future to address this and to make sure that we tighten, make sure that we have high-rolled, high-value contractors at every possibility we can through all the mechanisms that kind of through our RFP process, through our RFQ process, and through our procurement process. And I think it just takes time to do that. And I know the time, we'll try to do it expedient as possible, but as thorough as possible. And it just takes time to do that because you're dealing with a process, you're dealing with a system. But I think it's important continue for the record that looking through the committee that we kind of look at this in the future of what's happening and how we can do our due diligence as a board to make sure things like this doesn't happen in the future.
Further discussion? Mrs. Elrod?
Okay. So I was on the board in June and July, and I frankly am sorry that we didn't know of these concerns. And look, I'm glad that you have been, Ms. Tyler, sorry. I'm glad that you have brought them forward and that you are trying to work towards a resolve for in the future. For those of us that were on the board and agreed to the other contracts, it is difficult to support voting against this one when it is the same process that everybody else has gone through. And that being said, there's been a lot of conversations about this for a year, and it is still awful. Armando still needs to be paid, and I still wish and desire for him to be paid. And so I really want to make sure that we're clear that MNPS, at no point have I heard anybody on our board or inside a central office ever say that this situation makes them comfortable or that they are okay with it, and that it has been hard for all of us. And that being said, that's why we try to take some actionable measures. And I'm glad that we are going to continue to take actionable measures to further tighten this up and make sure that we're doing the best, not only for our, as Dr. Gentry said, our awesome responsibility of protecting and governing MNPS, but also answering to constituents. That being said, I want to make sure that whatever language we have going forward, one more time, Ms. Roberge, the language that we have going forward will not apply to these contracts, whether it be for grading or for the other contract. Excuse me for letting that jump out of my head for a second. But it will not apply to those contracts. So if these 5 businesses are approved to give us a bid on the work that we have done in this example for grading, them going forward would not be held to whatever this new language is.
Sorry, I was just conferring there with Mr. Gossage. The way this current IDIQ contract is written, it's using more of a service model and not necessarily a construction model. So we can also look at amending these contracts with some of that language that I'm talking about that we will get to you as quickly as possible. But could the board go back and sort of relook at the beginning of the process? It would be my advice, no.
Okay, I want to make sure I understand that correctly. We had the responsibility, those of us that were sitting here, in June and July to have brought those concerns up at that time, not only for Orion, but of course, everybody that was applying for this ability to quote on these contracts. When somebody within these are awarded a contract through us, the language that will be included inside that contract will or will not be the new language?
It may be the new language is sort of, I guess, what my answer is. And I do want to say that while there are certainly improvements that can be made to this contract, the contracts that you are approved are not legally deficient in the sense that they would not be enforceable and don't provide any protection to MNPS. They do provide protection. They do govern our contractual relationships sufficiently. This is just us responding to what we have heard from the board.
Yes, I don't want to, I apologize if that was alluded to.
It wasn't. I thought it helped to say it.
Sure. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you all for this discussion. I know we have two colleagues that say that they need to leave. So with that, I'll call for the question. I'll restate the motion to approve the 2 Orion contracts that were pulled from the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please raise your hand. All right, that's 3-4. All opposed, please raise your hand. 0, and all abstaining. We have 5. So that de facto fails. Mrs. Roberge, what happens next?
At this time, because there is a possibility of legal action, I suggest that we schedule an executive session to discuss it.
All right, thank you for your help, and again, thanks for this discussion. All right, we will move on to director's remarks. Dr. Battle.
All right, thank you, board members, for the opportunity to give an update on some things happening throughout the district. While I have the opportunity, I want to say thank you to Dr. Berthina Nabama-McKinney for your service to our schools on the Board of Education. You had some big shoes to fill with the loss of our friend Anna Shepard, and I'm grateful for your thoughtful questions and leadership during this challenging time. Thank you, Dr. Nabama-McKinney. Now, I'd like to remind everyone that we'll be closed tomorrow in honor of Veterans Day. It has been about 3 years since our district started officially recognizing this holiday of observance for students and staff, especially honoring those women and men who served in the military to protect and defend our freedoms and who now honor us by serving their community through Metro Nashville Public Schools. I'd also like to give a brief update on where we stand with COVID-19 here in Nashville and with MNPS. Starting with the community context, there hasn't been any significant improvement in the number of cases since our last update. It has remained steadily high throughout the community. We've seen the transmission rate decrease, but the positivity rate in new cases per 100,000 residents have increased. Today, the Metro Public Health Department reported an increase of 635 cases in Nashville, which is nearly as many as the 642 reported on Sunday. It is important to note that those exceptionally high numbers may be related to a system reporting issue the week before, which has been reported by the Health Department. There are currently 3,112 active cases being tracked by the Health Department. For context, in the summer, the number of active cases peaked at about 5,900 according to the COVID-19 dashboard. Here you can see the number of new confirmed positive cases reported per week since we began releasing the case numbers broken down by school after pre-K2 students began returning to the classroom. Note that these are not cumulative biweekly. Our health team has been working with our technology service department to design some additional mechanisms that we will be sharing in the weeks to come. Now, we have the number of cases of students and staff who have been quarantined as a result of being in close contact or showing symptoms of COVID-19. Quarantines have been challenging for our schools and families as they create staffing challenges and are disruptive to the learning environment for students and the lives of our teachers. However, quarantines are key to stopping the spread and transmission of the virus in our schools so that we can continue operating safely. We are fortunate here in Nashville to have a health department that is committed to providing information daily on the spread of COVID-19 in our community, which is data we use to shape decisions on reopening school buildings and phasing in students. The website, asafenashville.org, lists 8 key metrics that inform public health decisions in the city. Again, 4 of the most important to our decision-making process include the transmission rate, 14-day new case trend, new cases per 100,000 residents, and the 7-day positive test rate. We also look at daily case counts to get an idea of where we are or where we're going. However, it is important to know that those fluctuate for a variety of reasons, and we shouldn't take one data point out of the total context. In addition to community spread, we are focused on cases of COVID-19 throughout our schools that have in-person students and those that have staff who are teaching virtually. I continue to be concerned that our key metrics are fluctuating between yellow, less than satisfactory, or red, unsatisfactory. Please understand that we are monitoring our key metrics as well as our in-house data to make informed decisions regarding our continuation of our current phased-in grades and programs and the lack of progress with decreased numbers to continue our middle school phase-in. There is not a day that goes by that I or my team are not monitoring the data, as we all share the same goals of returning all of our students of families who chose the in-person option safely back into our buildings. As a reminder, our school nurse program is contracted through the Metro Public Health Department, which oversees contact tracing for the city and within our schools. Schools update families when there is a positive case of COVID-19 confirmed in our school building, and we provide updates on a weekly basis of cases in our schools at MNPS.org/COVID-19. So, I hope everyone can see the challenges we face. I want to get more of our students back into schools. I'm very hopeful that we can make progress as a city against COVID-19 that will let us do that safely. But the metrics we see today don't allow us to do that quite yet. As you're planning ahead for tomorrow and the Thanksgiving holiday, please plan with your students and with our students and employees in mind. Washing of hands, social distancing, and please, please avoid large crowds and gatherings. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Mason Bellamy to give a brief instructional update.
Ma'am, thank you, Board and Dr. Battle. I'll take my more new directive and brief seriously for you ladies. Thank you for having us tonight. And I'm excited about talking to you a little bit about our success in both virtual and the in-person space through the Division of Schools. As you know, it's been a unique year, but we've started the year predicated on the same thing we would in any traditional year, and that's really making sure that we're providing access to all of our students. We're monitoring the success of that access, how well they're engaging, and we're aligning supports. And so I'm going to keep going back to that 3-pronged approach for you throughout the night. I call it the AMA. It's access, monitor, and align. And so the first part of that is we're going to frame it around 3 essential questions. So under access, we want to know, is every student engaging? Right, and in today's environment, that means virtual or in person. We want to know, when we look at monitoring success, is the core instruction working for everyone? And ultimately, all of that matters because we have to ask, how do we respond when access is either limited or when core instruction isn't working? So when we talk about access, again, I want to frame it around two assumptions that we all know when we look at, is every student engaging, that they cannot learn if they are not engaged, and that they cannot engage without the proper tools. And you can see a lot of the success of our program has been in getting laptops and hotspots in all of our students' hands to provide that access for engagement, whether we're in person or whether we're virtual. Moving on to the second prong of our approach, monitoring. When we ask, is every student learning? We have to monitor a couple different variables, and we look at key metrics across these two different components. So one, we look at attendance, both in person and virtual, and ask how are students attending, to what degree are they engaging. So it's not just are they physically present, either virtually or in person, but to what degree is that presence paying off and are they engaging? And then we monitor academic data, so success rates, student grades, intervention data that you've seen presented to you before. And ultimately, I mentioned the last prong is aligning supports. The first two are really about so that we can do the best job possible in the third. So what happens when we realize someone has limited access? Again, this year, we undertook a one-to-one effort. Every student in this district now has pretty much a brand new laptop in their hands, whether they're coming back in person or virtually, so that they can access their curriculum. We've had hotspots delivered as needed, so that basically equates to on-demand access for our students anytime, anywhere, based on whether virtual or in person. And in addition, in September we started phasing in-person services for our students. So our pre-K through 4 students and our qualifying exceptional ed students came back about mid-September, and then our pre-K through 4 after fall break. Attendance, when we ask if there's limited access or someone's not engaging appropriately in attendance, one of the first supports is that our school teams work with our student services department, the talented department under Dr. Springer's direction. Mr. Bradley Redmond provides them a lot of data and on-demand supports and works with those school teams in calling parents, implementing attendance plans, and asking how can we improve your child's access. Again, whether it's physically attending or whether it's you're in the virtual space, and how can we make sure that you're tuned into the supports that you need. And you've also heard a lot about the Navigator program that was launched this year under the leadership of, again, Dr. Randolph and Dr. Springer, and the success that we've had there in our schools. You heard one teacher speak about that earlier today, about the beauty of the Navigator program. So we use them to connect families to supports as well. What about supports in the instructional space? And this is where things start to, honestly, even though we're in a new space, they start to look very traditional and things you'll be accustomed to when we talk about them. Our students each receive personalized learning time every single day. So that's in their daily schedule. It's embedded where they're getting either intervention or enrichment depending on what their needs are. Again, that happens in person through a traditional delivery. It happens virtually through a variety of synchronous and asynchronous activities. Additionally, in particular at the high school level, we're always watching our academic success rates, and that leads to tutoring opportunities, credit recovery, content recovery. Again, these things are going on in a traditional year, but in the virtual space, it's become even more important to level the playing field and ensure access for all students in that space. Our high schools have done a great job in particular, of making sure that we're monitoring our students that are seniors that are on track to graduate. Additionally, this year, you've probably heard us talk about our intervention platforms that we are able to put our students into. These are adaptive programs. Lexi is available for every kindergarten through 4th grade student in the district. Language Lab is available to 5th through 12th grade students that qualify through our multi-tiered systems of support system, Tier 2 and Tier 3 students. And iReady Math is available K-12 for every student in the district with that license. Again, these programs are adaptive, so they're meeting students at their needs. Our teachers are able to log in, get the reports they need, and continue to adjust instruction as needed. And then finally, our traditional interventions, our exceptional education department, English learner services. Again, I mentioned our multi-tiered systems of supports. Some of you may have heard that referred to years ago as RTI, but individualizing supports, core instruction, then Tier 2, Tier 3 support for students. And ultimately, it can lead to enrichment for students to make sure that, again, all learners are being pushed to the level that's appropriate to them. And finally, as I round out before I go into sharing some bright spots and some focal points from the curriculum department, I just want to mention that throughout all 3 of those prongs, communication is essential. We have to communicate to parents how their child can access opportunities and what supports are available if access is limited. We have to communicate how we're going to monitor that and how they can monitor that. And we have to communicate what supports are available in the event that either the parent or the school has identified they're needed. And so our instructional technology team has been great this year. They've conducted lots of Teams Lives event as the year got started. They're doing another one this Thursday evening to demonstrate the power of apparent access to Schoology, on-demand, real-time access to your child's grades in Schoology anytime. And our IT department is putting that on this Thursday. And then next week, our schools, in alignment with progress reports going out, will be doing Teams Lives events as well to really try to partner with parents and increase access, increase our ability to monitor success, and increase our parents' ability to monitor their child's success, all so that we can align the appropriate supports for our kids. I mentioned some focal points, and I just want to take you through quickly some behind-the-scenes things that, again, lots of these happen in traditional years, but doing them in a virtual setting has added an additional layer and some things within the Division of Schools that I'm particularly proud of. And all of this, of course, you're seeing in the hard work of our teachers and our student success. So all of it's to support them. So first, when we talk through our curriculum supports, this first page of supports are really more designed for teachers. And supporting teachers is intended to be seen through student support so that they can align support and better support their students. So our curriculum teams here at Central Office have had weekly office hours since August, offering on-demand support for teachers. And again, any teacher that needs to reach out to their content lead and attend that is absolutely encouraged and welcome to. Tutorial videos stemming from lots of those conversations have been created, all dealing with different applications within our Microsoft platforms, so that we can put tools in the hands of our teachers to make their jobs a little easier. You heard in August and September when they were all learning to be virtual teachers in the first space, they were sharing tips and tricks with us at the teacher's cabinet, at their office hours, and we wanted to make sure and put actions into place to get them in the hands of all teachers. Additionally, learning-focused conversations from our professional development department. Lots of you may have heard of these in the past as professional learning communities, right? They're the folks who are doing the work, coming together to learn from one another, and that's being supported and driven by our curriculum department. And then finally, since August, there's been 104 professional development opportunities delivered to different content area teachers, most of which are still taped online and on demand that they can re-access or access through their Schoology teacher groups. So again, this is about increasing supports for teachers and aligning those supports for teachers so that they can then do that for their students. And some curriculum measures that we hope our parents would have seen pretty clearly in the student space. One, it's about access. When you're teaching students to read and they're engaged in our RLA block, we have to have high quality literature in their hands. So our library services department, our parents can check out books through school websites and go through delivery systems and pick them up at the school. Additionally, material distributions have put copies of the needed books for our units in the hands of our students. Again, that's not something you'd brag about in a traditional year that our kids have books, but in the virtual space we started the year in, it was certainly an undertaking that was supported by our teachers, by our principals, by the curriculum department here, and that I think our students saw and I hope our families saw. And then finally, the student workload balance. We got lots of feedback early in the year as students were learning to be virtual learners about dealing with that balance. And so Dr. Williams and his team got right to work in looking at our curriculum documents, which are very robust, I'd say second to none, and really realigned how we put those supports in place for teachers so that they can implement the curriculum we adopted, Florida Virtual School, in ways that make it easy for the learner to access what's most important in this lesson. And we heard that early and often from parents, and I think we responded very quickly, and hopefully our parents saw that alignment of resources. You heard from Dr. Paul Changus last time we met. He heads up our research and evaluation team. Dr. Changus, his department is all about monitoring. If there's something you want to monitor the success of, Dr. Changus can tell you whatever you need to know. His department has created lots of stakeholder feedback opportunities. So that really is about us monitoring the success of what we're doing. His department also created the Navigator platform that's being used by our school navigators. And so when we talk about monitoring the success of that program, which is all about aligning supports, we can give Dr. Changus's department a great thank you for increasing our ability to do that. And you've heard from teachers, you've heard from Dr. Randolph, the success of that program. Our EE department, our exceptional education department, they're about all three constantly. That is the world they live in: access, monitoring, and aligning supports. In-person child find and IDEA regulations did not go away when COVID hit in March. And so they have been doing those things, finding children. You cannot give them access if you have not found them to provide that for before they come to us when they're 5. So in-person child find of our 3 to 4-year-old special needs students. Modified curriculum that came before this board and was adopted earlier this year allowed us to bring back our EE students before any other learners and implement this curriculum, again providing them access and modified supports that we could also push out virtually for the parents that chose to leave their students virtually. And then finally, really honing in on regression services through the EE department, especially in the virtual setting when the students have not returned yet, as many of our EE students have not yet. I mentioned briefly our multi-tiered systems of support. Remember, that is the system in which we really we use a variety of different measures, including teacher observations, to identify what level of support a student needs. And then we put them the place to get it, whether it's in a teacher small group, whether it's one of these interventions that we were able to purchase district-wide this year, which is not something our district's been able to do in the past. So I mentioned Alexia, Language Live, and iReady to you before. And so again, that is a kind of a focal point for the MTSS team. Katie Patullo and her team right now is really making sure that the students that need to be in those tiers are getting these specific interventions that are adaptive and providing them what they need. It's increasing access for those kids. It is monitoring their success for us, for our teachers in an easier way, and it's aligning the supports that we need for them. Our early learning team in Metro Nashville, if you know that we have an early learning team that's passionate about making sure we find the kids and get them in our programs, and that we create. They are about access. When I meet with Phyllis and her team, access is what they want. They want kids in their programs. They have a vast parent outreach that they've gone through this year in the virtual space, which, as you can imagine, is a little complicated and for our pre-K students, but they've done some remarkable things. And then as they came back, so they've used Teams, YouTube, newsletters, and then I wanted to highlight their partnership in getting materials in the hands of kids so that they can do the hands-on things at home that correspond with what they're doing both in person or for our pre-K students that have chosen to stay virtual. Our EL department, again, I think is a real point of pride for Metro Nashville Public Schools. They have been on the ground. While I could talk about Molly Haywood's leadership and her team in all three categories, I want to focus on access with you tonight because they have been on the ground in our help support centers that Dr. Springer's team has put together and led the charge on every single day. Our director of EL services herself oftentimes is logging into Teams meetings from those sites, and very proud of what they do. But what they did is they identified a need early on that our EL families in particular, our newly registering EL families, although we're providing them with a device, there's still a lot of hurdles in logging in, knowing how to get to Schoology, knowing how to access your course, find your classes. So the registrants now receive their laptop, their hotspot, a headset with a microphone capability for many of their access testing, and a personal lesson on the spot the day they register to access those platforms. They have really eliminated a barrier that they noticed from being on the ground in supporting in other ways. And so again, just an example of them going above and beyond in this space to really make sure our students have the access they need. Our Visual and Performing Arts Department, we refer to lovingly around here as VAPA, has gone above and beyond, and it's an integral part of a well-rounded education. And so over 13,000 art kits for our high school students that are in credit-bearing courses that require materials in order to produce art that demonstrate you've mastered a concept, have gone out through materials distribution. Again, not something we typically have to navigate or think about in an in-person setting, but this year that has happened. Specialized PPE, do you know what a bell cover is for a trombone? I'm still not 100% sure I do, but we have them. We have purchased those, and that has been a great thing so that our band students can continue to practice safe and securely. And then possibly the most really impressive one is that over 70 performing art courses were created in a very short span that may not be offered in FLVS. And so our teachers and our curriculum department went to work in providing virtual courses so that our secondary students and even our elementary learners that were taking art, for the ones that choose to stay home, are getting access to those things. And we know the arts is part of a well-rounded education, and I'm very proud of the work that they've been doing there in providing access. Advanced academics, I can't say enough, advanced academics is for every child. It's for every student in Metro Nashville Public Schools. We have some basic our Encore units, which are really more generally in the in-person space, is very much hands-on, very much driven in that way, had to be created for the virtual environment, had to be adapted for the virtual environment. Otherwise, we would have been denying access to students that need that. And so I'm proud of the work that went into that got that done. Our AVID courses stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. It's a program that focuses on first-generation college students. It's embedded into some of our high schools. A lot of great success. It's a very comprehensive program that really is about showing kids, again, and exposing them to opportunities and access and the skills they need to take those upper-level courses, and it'll go hand in hand with the next slide I tell you here in a second. But having to provide that virtually, again, was a challenge, as a program was meant to be implemented in person. And then, of course, we offer AP, IB, and Cambridge supports that the same thing had to happen. Lots of virtual adaptations had to be made to these things to make them to continue offering access and aligning supports for our secondary students in this space. But early post-secondary opportunities, or you might hear us refer to them as EPSOs from time to time, talk about a high school student's opportunities, and really in the virtual space, I'm extremely proud of the work in Metro Nashville in providing these opportunities in robust ways. Our seniors were able to test for the ACT in October, which you know is one of the quickest ways to be considered a ready graduate and is an early post-secondary opportunity if you achieve an appropriate score. Our high schools have had one-to-one tutoring being offered, both school-based and through a partnership with BrightPath. So again, we're monitoring success rates. We're trying to plug in students to credit recovery opportunities and safe tutoring opportunities that are happening outdoors and socially distanced for our students that might need that extra layer of support. A dual enrollment expansion this fall that even in a virtual space was able to offer well over 100 or so additional opportunities than what we typically offer, even in this virtual space. And again, every one of those opportunities is a student being exposed to access that they would not have had otherwise. And then finally, our Tennessee Promise Enrollment Challenge that has been going on saw a 35% increase in the last week of October. They've extended the deadline, and we're excited to continue to make a run to get every one of our seniors involved in Tennessee Promise. And if you know a senior, ask them if they've applied yet. And then how could I have an update about the instruction department without the Academies of Nashville, which is one of the first things that you hear from almost community members or lots of folks you engage with is the pride that Nashville has for their Academies of Nashville. And right now we are undertaking a virtual career fair for our freshman academy students. Donna Gilly was not going to let those freshman students miss out on that opportunity. And so November 16th and 17th, all freshmen will get opportunities throughout their normal asynchronous time. So not in addition to, not something they have to do outside of, but as part of their embedded in their learning. And there's a Teams Live industry panel that I'm kind of excited to sit in as well when they get to hear from folks in a field that interests them. I have the website there. We're not going to have time to take you to it tonight, but our own Dr. Battle is featured right there on the cover. And so I encourage you to go there and listen to the brief little videos about each one and explore that website and see the opportunities for our academy students. And when you think about academies, I want you to think about access. I want you to think about aligning supports because that's really what it's all about. And finally, I know the board has always asked in the past, how can the board assist in these things? And so I would like to wrap up tonight with you by thanking you for your time and stressing that you can continue to advocate for adequate state funding for the things that I've presented to you and for funding our district. Many of the things I mentioned to you tonight could not have happened without federal CARES Act money. And you heard the things that we talked about, our devices, our hotspots, the district-wide interventions we were able to provide. Additionally, you passed a testing resolution in August. We'd ask for your continued advocacy around making sure that how, why, if, when we test is in the best interest of students. They've recently pushed that window back, and that's going to further complicate our ability to do some of the things that I've brought before you tonight and providing access and monitoring success and aligning supports. And then finally, just thank you for your support of our continuous learning plan, our adoption of Florida Virtual. The continuity of learning for our students is vital as we continue to monitor access and support, align those supports. Without the ability to do that and the work that I've shared with you tonight, we would certainly not be able to provide those supports in as robust a way. So thank you for that, and I just wanted to shout out again to my entire team, Dr. David Williams and his department, our schools, our principals, our teachers. I'm blessed to get to support them, and thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
Sure.
We can have discussion. If you have questions, go right ahead, Ms. Masters.
Thank you. Three-part question. The first one is, who is currently receiving a better education, our in-person or our virtual students?
First, thank you for the very difficult question, Ms. Masters. I would say my entire charge is to ensure that all of our students receive an equitable education. And so whatever you choose for your child, it's my job to make sure that I cannot answer that question for you without telling you that they're receiving the services they're owed, they're deserved, and will continue to make sure of that. So in my opinion, the families that have the access they need to engage virtually, if their schedule certainly allows for it, we will work with them best we can. And the short answer is I think that we will provide every family what they need to get that education.
Okay, second question. Are we currently able to allow for the CDC recommended social distancing in every in-person classroom where students are present?
the current CDC guidelines of 6 feet between every student? No, ma'am. Not every school, not every classroom will be able to always adhere to 6 feet of distance.
And our exact communication was, we will social distance to the greatest extent possible in every scenario, with the goal of 6 feet 6 feet or more whenever we can, but the greatest extent possible. So not being able to get 6 feet doesn't mean that we're not stretching that as far as we can.
Okay, third question in light of those two answers. Why are we continuing to refuse the pleas of parents who would like to return to virtual instruction instead of in-class instruction at this time?
And I'll take that question, Ms. Masters. As you are likely aware, over the summer we released our first survey to ask parents of their preference for in-person or virtual. Due to the spike in our numbers and our metrics, we were unable to open in that hybrid manner, and so we opened up all virtually. Prior to the phase-in, several weeks before, we gave our families an option with regards to virtual or in person. Once we did that, we provided those numbers to our schools, and our schools reallocated their staffing and their resources to align the instructional supports to students based upon what parents selected as their structure for their students, whether that be virtual or in person. So we only made that shift if a parent told us that they wanted to opt in for virtual or for in-person. And so schools took on a huge lift of reallocating all of their staff based upon those needs. And so the structure that our schools are in right now, based upon their planning, based upon their flexibility and pivoting to meet the needs of students, we do not have the means or the resources to continue to shift staffing around to meet those needs. Now, what we are doing, as we previously communicated, is giving our parents another opportunity in a few weeks to shift their preference for the remainder of the school year. So we will give an opportunity in one more window that if parents need to make that shift, because it's a natural break for us going into the second semester, for schools to shift their staffing around if needed. And I think we're all very hopeful that at that point in time, our metrics will be much better so that we can offer even more in-person option to families who choose.
I appreciate that answer. I continue to find it unconscionable, though, that we won't allow families to go back to virtual instruction when they are genuinely afraid for the health and well-being of their children. We've talked a lot tonight about the fear of legal action from a large corporation. Do we have no fear of what might be coming our way from these families who are genuinely living in fear and simply asking to be allowed to go ahead and make that shift in light of current community metrics that are so dire? I am just making a plea as a mother and as a board member that we reconsider and that we allow families who would really prefer to be in virtual instruction to make that choice immediately.
And I'll ask Melissa to come up and address the legal implications here, given that we're in the middle of a pandemic, but also just reiterating that the shifting that we did make was based upon parent preference. And we'll also give that option the first week of December.
And I do appreciate that. I just feel that I would not be representing the concerns that are coming my way from within my district if I didn't bring this up this evening.
And so from the legal side of things, the Tennessee legislature passed an amendment to the Tennessee Governmental Tort Liability Act, which is what governs liability of governmental entities such as Metro, and imposed significantly higher proof standards. And the liability risk is relatively low.
That's lovely for us that the state backs us up when we need them to. Thank you.
And I think I'll be remiss if I didn't speak on behalf of the school teams. This is weeks and months of planning on their end to try to adjust to meet the needs of families, because we all want the same thing for our kids. We want, as soon as possible, to get them all back in our buildings as quickly as we can. But through their process and through their scheduling and shifting. And we've had teachers take on new teaching assignments, new grade levels, multiple grade levels, in order to, again, be grounded in the preference that our families communicated to us. And we are going to be responsive to the shifts that are needed as we're moving into the second semester. So we'll be communicating here pretty soon what that process is going to look like, giving our parents one opportunity to make that shift, but we have to do that in a very reasonable and responsible way so that our staff can also shift to continue to educate our students at a high level. So I think it's a concern for everyone. It is a well-informed decision I know the parents are trying to make with regards to virtual or in-person, but we also want to protect the quality of their educational experiences as well, and what limited resources we have to make that happen on a daily basis.
Mrs. Elrod?
Thank you. I guess my first question is going to, though I know we've been said not to say piggyback, is to piggyback off of Mrs. Masters. I too am hearing from some parents that would like to, that have chosen in person, they chose that at the time, and want to return to virtual for a plethora of reasons. Is it possible, I understand that the concern is that we are not able to currently honor those requests because they do not come in perfect groups of headcount. To create a new classroom. Is it possible for us to look at individual requests based upon the head counts at those schools? Like the virtual classrooms within that grade have a low enough head count where they could add another student? Or, I guess the second part to that, or is our request to go virtual at this time so large that that is not possible for us to manage in central office?
It would be nearly impossible to manage at this point. I mean, a lot of schools, what you see is you see some overload in some places from the very beginning, trying to accommodate all the preferences that came in for families. But I do want to remind us, this is a pretty consistent process that school districts are using because of the magnitude of the schedule and the structure that has to come about from the leadership team and the staff. So we are providing an opportunity, and we're just a few weeks away from that. I know a few weeks and days seem long when you're in the middle of a pandemic. I get that. But we are providing that additional opportunity to make one shift as needed to inform the placement or the structure for the remainder of the school year.
Will those require, so let's say we have a family member, be in any of our districts, that chooses to shift in a couple weeks from in-person to virtual for whatever reason, and then in March wants to go back in person. That is, I understand, not to be allowed. If it's vice versa, if they are in person and want to go back to virtual, they no longer have the opportunity to switch like we're talking about in this way. So I guess going back to my original question, would it be possible for us to be able, in those situations where suddenly someone maybe has a diagnosis of some kind or there's some type of certain alarm, is there a way for us to look at those individually based upon family need and what's going on in those classrooms in the next semester?
Yeah, I think so. The decisions that families will be making in December for the second semester will be the structures that they'll be in for the remainder of the school year. However, with everything that we do, if we have extenuating circumstances, we have a process by which our team will review if we're able to accommodate the switch from in-person to virtual, virtual to in-person. So if there is an extenuating circumstance, of course, we're going to do all we can to support our students and families in that shift. So we do have a review process that families can go through if they are wishing to make that decision, but we are asking, and we'll be sending out communications to help families really be thoughtful about the decision-making process so that we can have a good sense of continuity for our students and for our school teams in providing the quality educational experiences that they deserve through the remainder of the school year.
Okay. May I ask my, okay. So, excuse me, I have my questions. Okay, under curriculum, we discussed about how we're providing high-quality literature in the hands of students, and I know personally that my children have received books from the school to be a part of their at-home classroom library through our schools. Is there a possibility for us to add library services with our food pickup and delivery that we have Is there a way to offer those either from our own library services and/or through any type of partnerships that we have that could provide books to students so they continue to have, additional high-quality literature?
I can't speak as to whether or not we'd be able to couple that with food services and those type of things, but what I can do is certainly work with Dr. Williams and our schools and find out how they're currently distributing and see ways we can engage and continue to push that. I mean, we're always going to look for ways to put high-quality literature in our kids' hands, and so I'd be happy to continue to press forward in that space. And we'll get feedback from our schools. They always have great ideas, and I'm sure we can come up with some other partnerships and figure that out. But I certainly don't want to commit to food service being part of that without knowing their ability.
And regarding the trainings that we have, like this upcoming Thursday, parent trainings, do we partner with schools to email their parents via the principals, like school emails or through PTO, PTAs, so that we have as much engagement or notification to parents as possible?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the beginning part of your question?
Sure. So like the upcoming training that we have on Thursday regarding supports that could be available to students, do we message those to individual schools so that they can, of course, push that out, be it through their principal and their school emails or through the PTO, PTA?
It depends on the topic. This particular one came together last week, and we're doing a district communication for that. I'll have to ask Mr. Braced which night, but there will be a district communication for that one. But certain topics, certainly we give our school script and ask them to personalize and send out, because oftentimes parents like to hear their principal's voice. And so it just depends on the topic and who's really running it. This is a district-run event, so it'll probably be pushed out on social media. It'll be pushed out through a district-wide call. Our principals are certainly aware of it, but we've not given them the direction to do a school-based call on that particular event, since they're following it up the following week with one of their own. And we have to tread carefully with how many messages we do push out before people stop answering all of them. And to clarify, Mr. Clay gave me a good clarifying point when I answered your previous question. I would like to clarify that library services are still being provided virtually in all of our schools through the synchronous and asynchronous lessons as part of a related art and things like that. And so I certainly didn't mean to imply earlier that we're just giving out books and that they're not still getting that service as well.
Regarding the fatigue, I understand that we don't want to fatigue parents, of course, on the amount that we reach out to them. And I think right now in this environment and culture, we are reaching out probably more than they're used to. But I am glad that we are continuing to provide parent trainings, as I agree with you that it's only effective and our interventions are only effective if they're aware of them and that they can actually be involved in them, particularly in the virtual space. So I appreciate that we're looking at that and that we're continuing to try to be aware of what's the best way to let them know of what's available to them and their student. And then I think that's all I have. I'm sorry. I'll look and see if I have any other questions. Thank you so much.
Sure. Mrs. Tyler?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I want to make sure that we're supporting our online teachers the best we can. So I'd like to ask a little bit about the professional development courses that we're offering them. I saw that you said that we've got 104 courses. How many of those, or like a rough percentage, if you could give us, target specifically how to work better online or how to provide teaching better online?
I believe the majority of those courses are going to be content specific, and certainly there's a delivery mechanism to that. Dr. Williams may have a little bit more information, or that may be a number that I need to look up for you to get you that percentage. We certainly have a different series of professional developments that were not content specific, but were more pedagogical in nature, and this is how you teach this way. But our context-specific trainings, we're always going to try to interlay within that the delivery method, right, and how you could implement this virtually and how you could implement this in person. So we'd prefer, rather than having just virtual best practice in virtual teaching, that we demonstrate that, since we're having to put on most of these virtually as well. So I don't have a direct percentage for you right now, but I'm certainly happy to look into it.
Okay, I appreciate that. And that kind of answers my next, how many are created by our own teachers? And it sounds like the majority of them are, based on what you said, or are we?
The professional developments that I mentioned earlier?
The courses. How many are we using the talent of our teachers who are just doing a great job teaching online or doing something? How are we tapping into that to help other teachers?
The vast majority of our courses are going to be driven by our central office personnel who are leading our early literacy leaders, folks like that. But they do bring on lead teachers in each of those areas, all for curriculum planning and for planning and helping implement those trainings. So the vast majority of them certainly have teacher voice and teacher work as part of them, even if they're not the lead facilitator, obviously because they're teaching full-time, right?
In addition to the curriculum development, design, supplementary materials, our teachers are definitely pulled into that review process.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then moving on to the next, looking at our intervention platform, specifically the ones for ELA. How do these platforms fit into balanced literacy?
So Lexia and Language Live are going to be used as part of our universal screening process, and in particular as kids are moving through the tiers. So it's going to be part of a small group instruction when they're not getting teacher-delivered small group. It could be used as part of their center time. It could be used in a variety of ways to make sure that they're catching the necessary skills to become a proficient reader.
And have the teachers gotten training on how to integrate balanced literacy with these particular interventions?
Training specific to how this fits into our reading block and our reading model. I'll let Dr. Williams respond to the trainings as far as the intervention and specific to how they fit into our adopted model.
Yeah, good evening. I think it's important to clarify that the intervention programs that Dr. Bellamy spoke of are during personalized learning time that is separate from core instruction. So core instruction would focus on a balanced literacy framework approach where you're looking at the different varieties of modalities of communication, speaking, listening, reading, writing. The intervention platforms specifically are not part of that literacy block.
Okay.
So it's distinct.
Okay, so basically because it's completely separate, there's not an attempt to use balanced literacy with that when it's in intervention time?
Correct. Balanced literacy would only apply to Tier 1 instruction. The intervention programs are Tier 2, Tier 3, and intensive special ed as needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And then I'm a little, just as a former reading teacher, I'm a little concerned about that. So I would love to, look at those particular programs myself at some point in the next 2 weeks. So I have another question. I've been hearing from teachers and students who have had to quarantine without their whole class, where it's just been like one kid in a class or one or two kids in a class because of exposure at home or somewhere else. When they switch to virtual learning, I have been told that they're not receiving any live classes during that time and that they're just getting 2 weeks of basically asynchronous worksheets. So is that what's happening and why?
That should not be accurate of what's happening, no ma'am. What we can't do is move them into a virtual teacher's classroom due to a variety of back-end issues with school without going into all the whys. But what they do receive is the robust resources that our virtual students get. So they can certainly get the recordings of live teaching. We do have some teachers that are willing to teach live and allow the on Teams while they're facilitating with their in-person classrooms as well. But it's certainly not accurate to say they're given a packet of asynchronous work and told to do that. And so if a family is concerned about the resources they're getting while in that space, their first point of contact should be their principal and to talk about that concern and the type of resources they have. Because with one of the benefits of our technology right now and our platform is they really do, they have a robust offering for those. It may not be his teacher at that exact moment that he would like to go to RLA, but those lessons are going to be there for them in a variety of different ways. And so they need to connect with their principal first and foremost and really have a discussion about the access and the aligned resources that they need when they're in that space.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And then if a whole class quarantines, does they just move online and the teacher delivers live classes like she was before they went back in person and that they just continue all of that?
For the most part, yes, ma'am, unless the quarantine was because the teacher's not able to perform her duties, in which case we have to look at other alternatives. But in most cases, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
my gracious. Okay, do we have any other questions? I do. I just have one real quick. For the small group instruction, does every student receive small group instruction for ELA?
Yes, ma'am. It's certainly part of our adopted model in our in-person setting. Now, in virtual, it's going to look different,
Okay.
right? But absolutely, all students should be receiving small group instruction in literacy.
Okay. Is the same in math as well, or just literacy? Or small group?
Best practices, now, are we referring to our elementary levels?
Elementary, yes.
Are going to be small group instruction should be happening around those necessary skills. It may not be every day of a math block. It is going to be shorter than a literacy block typically, but absolutely small group instruction is a best practice at the elementary level that would be expected.
Okay. And then in middle and high school, what type of small group support are students receiving?
So at the middle and high school level, it can look differently based on the time parameters and the scheduling of the classroom, but they should still be receiving differentiated support and personalized lessons during their hour blocks. And so it may just have to look differently. It may be Tuesday, Thursday. It may be on a different schedule, but that personalized instruction and small group instruction certainly still has opportunities and should be occurring.
And I'll add that teachers at all levels are leveraging all of those strategies, both in person and in the virtual space. And I would be remiss if I didn't remind us of the office hours that our teachers are now offering to provide additional one-on-one time and small group time for our students based upon need, or the teacher might schedule it to indicate that the student needs additional support.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess it's my last question that I had forgotten and now remember. Okay, so we hear, I guess I'll speak on my own behalf. We hear quite often about that there needs to be some improvements within our virtual school offerings. Frankly, we don't hear a lot of specifics of what we want those improvements to be, but I know that you have come up with areas, I'm sure, of what should be improved or what are areas that we need to continue to focus on. So my question is what areas of improvement do we have within virtual school, and what resources are needed to make those improvements?
I think one of the biggest opportunities Dr. Battle just mentioned, so really making sure that we're making the most of our office hours and that asynchronous learning time. A student can't sit in front of a computer for the same duration they can come to school, and so helping them balance that asynchronous learning and the rich feedback they should still be getting on the work they're doing, right? And so when you look at how we break up the virtual day versus an in-person day, we've got my executive directors, myself, David Williams' team, we're looking at a side-by-side and really trying to make it a comparison of this is what you see in person, this is what you should be getting virtually, and capitalizing again on that personalized learning time and those office hours. So connecting with students in small groups and individually is a little bit of a challenge virtually, and we're still looking at ways we can get better at that, providing resources for teachers of how they can convene those small groups outside of the whole group sessions, and continuing to capitalize on that. So resources is really going to be continuing to share among the best practices of the people, the boots on the ground. We have teachers doing amazing things right now and giving them the opportunity to work with David's team and to figure out how we can continue to really extrapolate on those best practices and make sure that everyone's hearing about them, everyone's seeing about them, and that we're continuing to show success there.
And has our method of receiving those best practices been mostly through the teacher cabinet?
The practices that are happening have been through teacher cabinet, principal advisory group, because they're watching virtual classes and they're engaging, and just teachers that bring that. So I won't say just the teachers cabinet, but certainly our teachers that are coming upon these and finding these best practices have been a huge source for that, as have their principals. When they see something good going on, we're trying to elevate that and share it and trying to create opportunities among all of our networks so that it's not just happening in the northwest quadrant, but the southeast quadrant as well, or wherever else we can share from.
Okay.
If a parent's not having that same experience with the asynchronous learning, I guess what's the recourse? Like, I've heard from constituents saying like they do just receive a packet or they don't have access to live or recorded lessons.
Right.
If they're not experiencing that, is there a recourse? Is there a reporting mechanism? I guess where's a parent's way of communicating that?
First and foremost, they should always start with their teacher and principal. Because I do believe that our schools are, if that is happening, I think more likely than not, there's been a miscommunication. And it's probably a simple fix. And so I would encourage them to start with their teacher and with their principal and say, why is this not working? These are the things I feel like I was promised. Maybe I am getting or I'm not getting in a different way. And then if they fail to get a resolution at that level, they can always reach out to the executive director or myself directly, and we'll continue to work with them on that. But I feel like our principals will handle the vast majority of those. And to clarify, they might not get live teaching depending on the availability, and what we want to offer it when we can, but that's not a possibility always. And so it's important for me to clarify. They certainly will have robust resources, including recordings of live teaching. Some students will occasionally get to participate in the live lessons if that's possible. It won't always be possible.
Okay.
And that's why it was important for us to have a continuity of learning plan.
Right.
So that regardless if the student was in person or virtual or moving between the two, that they continue to have access to their grade level materials and resources. And so part of that continuity of learning plan is not so, and some schools might provide additional packets and information to go along with it, but that core instructional piece is within Schoology via the Florida Virtual School Platform.
Other questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Bellamy. Thank you, Dr. Battle. With that, I have a quick amendment to the agenda. We will have an update from the Capital Needs Committee meeting from Mrs. Tyler, an update from the Pencil Foundation with Mrs. Elrod, and then we'll go through our final announcements.
Okay, we just had a very short meeting. Sharon had a question about the surplus building in her district, and that is going to be, David Prophet was going to look at that for her to let her know, right? That's what I understood from their conversation.
Thank you, Mrs. Elrod.
Thank you. So as I think most of us probably know, the Pencil Foundation has still been available in Glencliff and Antioch for meals every week. And now that Tusculum's FRC is open, they are now involved in that. So Tusculum is one of our beloved District 2 schools. They also now have inside of the Pencil Foundation the equipment to provide die-cut letters and number kits. They found that that was a highly requested resource by teachers, and so they want to make sure that everyone is aware that that is available to them. And to that point, teachers are still able to order supplies from Pencil Foundation. There's been some confusion on that, and Pencil will even do curbside pickup if that's what the teacher prefers or would like for them to do. And upcoming information that's interesting or I think will be popular for people are two online options. One is called Pencil Connect, which is going to actively find partners to connect partners with the academies, and then also help finding reading partners with elementary students, which we are still, or we're not we, Pencil is still doing, and they're doing that virtually currently with our elementary students. And then they are currently in the test mode for a project called Pencil Me In, which will basically be like hands-on Nashville, but for only school options. They believe that this will take 3 to 4 years to do in all schools, but they were doing 5 pilot schools, and they hope to have those 5 pilot schools up and running by the end of this semester. So I think that's a great opportunity for us, not only in our individual schools, but to also kind of help our individual needs of our FRCs if we have those as well.
Thank you both. All right, we'll go in announcements. We'll start on this end with Mrs. Tyler.
My only announcement is to the city of Nashville to wear your masks so we can get our kids back in school, please, please, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Masters.
Mine is similar. I have a high school senior, and she'd like to have her turn to be with her friends at some point. And I was principal for a day last week as part of the Pencil program at Maplewood High School in my district. And the kids there in the Student Government Association would really like to have their chance as well. So if Nashville could please step up and help us out, maybe these high school kids will get to be with their friends at some point before they graduate.
Thank you. Mrs. Player-Peters.
I don't have more, but I just want to say thank you for Dr. Nabal McKinney for her service on the board. You've brought a new breath of fresh air with your questioning and your curiosity of how the district works and your advocacy for your students. And Public service is never an easy task or easy road, no matter how long or short your tenure may have been. But just want to thank you for your diligence on the board and your time in service, just as a fellow board member, that your time will not be forgotten. And thank you for filling in some big shoes with Anna Shepard. I know that was not an easy task, and I know you had a close relationship with her and believe that you did her fill her term with legacy, grace, and eloquence. So thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Elrod.
Thank you. I too would like to say that I have enjoyed working with Berthina, Dr. Nama McKinney, and I will miss your experienced and knowledgeable voice. And I also believe that you have done a great service not only to your district but to all of us at MNPS. And I really appreciate your trailblazing efforts that you have, and you've done Anna really proud. I also would like to just also congratulate our Blue Ribbon Teacher Award winners. We've had 58 outstanding teachers that have been recognized, and within District 2, we have several, and I'm going to take a moment to say thank you to them. So we have from McMurray Middle, we have Rebecca Crawford, who is a student growth winner. At William Henry Oliver Middle, we have Nick Keel, who is a teacher leadership teams winner, and we also heard from today during public participation. At John Overton, we have Andrew Molly, who is an instructional excellence winner. At Granbury, we have Dr. Paula Pendergrass. I know her as Dr. P. Dr. Paula Pendergrass, who is a teacher leadership winner. Again, at Oliver, we have Jane Rained, who is a teacher leadership teams winner, and I love Jane. I hear from her a lot. And at Oliver, we have Jennifer Sharp, teacher leadership winner. And at Valor, we have Jeremy Summit, who's a student growth winner, and back at Oliver, we have Amber Whitting, who's a teacher leadership winner. It's the most blue ribbon teachers that we've ever had through the National Public Education Foundation. And so I think that speaks really highly to the work that we're doing, not only within our classrooms, but also our virtual classrooms, and just the expertise that our students and our teachers, the expertise that our teachers bring to our students, and their extreme capabilities to do an excellent and exceptional job.
Thank you. Dr. Nabal McKinney.
Hi, everyone. Hey, so a couple of announcements before I make my closing statement here. But I do want to encourage parents who still need support with their children in virtual learning or in-person learning. I encourage you to please reach out to your child's teacher, the school principal, or any of the executive directors to gain the necessary support that you need. The support system and the resources are there, so I really encourage you to make sure that you're doing your due diligence to reach out and get that support. I would like to congratulate the 144 teachers who just gained teacher tenure. So if you guys know about that, we just approved that and voted that in, but just know that in order to achieve teacher tenure within the district, educators are eligible in Tennessee when they have completed a probationary period of 5 years within a 7-year period, and have received a team evaluation composite score of 4, which is above expectations, or 5, significantly above expectations for the last 2 years of their probationary period. So we're talking about high-quality teachers, and the last 2 years have scored a 4 or 5 on their evaluation, with 5 being the highest to receive teacher tenure. And for those who have their tenure reinstated, also had to serve an additional 2 years of probationary time after moving from tenured status to probationary status. So this is a big deal. We have 144 educators here within our district that we want to keep and take care of and invest in within our district. So congratulations again to that group of teachers, as well as all of our teachers who are going above and beyond to educate our children and provide that high-quality instruction that we want them to have. Second thing, or last thing, as you all know, my time on the board has come to an end, but I want to take this opportunity to thank my fellow board members and colleagues for your warm welcome, your leadership, your guidance, and your support throughout this journey. I'd also like to thank Dr. Battle and her amazing team for their due diligence in really spending time onboarding me, answering all of my questions, and addressing any concerns that I've had, and providing necessary information that really helped me be the most informed board member that I could be to make the best decisions on behalf of my district and MNPS as a whole. I'd like to thank our principals, teachers and staff, students and families, as well as the Donaldson, Hermitage, and Old Hickory community, which is District 4, for believing in me to represent and advocate on your behalf at the board level. I know these were big shoes to fill, and I hope I stepped into them and was gracious in that effort. And any decision that I made that was contrary to what you thought, I did my best. And so for that, for that I stand proud of. But just know that none of this would have been possible without the love and support of my husband, Todd, our children, and our family. So I want to say publicly, I love your husband, family, and thank you for allowing me and giving me the flexibility to do the work that we do. We all make sacrifices with our family to do this work, and we do it because we're passionate about it, and we want to make sure that we are the leaders we wish to see within our schools. So again, I empower and ask all of you as board members, as district staff and personnel within our schools and everything, that we be the example that we wish to see, because leadership matters. And we're doing it for our students within Metro Nashville Public Schools. So thank you, and I'll miss you all.
Thank you all for all of that. I will say thank you to the Nashville community for your continued civil discord. I was so excited when my peers elected me to this position because I wanted to reinstate public participation. It's not that I'm a masochist, I just believe in being yelled at sometimes. So I appreciate that we can have conversations, we can disagree, we can move forward in the best interest of our children. I will say that we'll be having a board retreat December 10th. Board colleagues, you'll be receiving a calendar invite soon. The big...
You said the 11th, you said 10th.
I'm so sorry, December 10th. My apologies. So Friday, December 10th.
December 11th.
Friday, December 11th, where we will be discussing the MNPS budget, both past and present, making sure that we answer questions, start beginning that process, because we know it is always budget season. I would like to say that shout out to my vice chair, Rachel Ann Elrod. She's been helping me as we connect with our council education committee chairs, Tom Druffel and Aaron Evans. They've been so gracious as to agree to having bi-monthly meetings to really build a better relationship between us and our funding body, to better answer their questions before we get to budget season, and to make sure they understand the true needs of our district, our family, our students, our staff. In that same vein, I ran on the idea that I want to be very accessible, and I want our board to be accessible to the community. And with that in mind, there are a couple of task forces that I've seen over the past 4 years that do a lot of work in our community. They meet regularly, then they come to the board and they present to us, and we eat it up. And I think that we do our constituents and our community a disservice when we allow them to do the work and then we don't understand or accept their recommendations. So with that in mind, there are a few task forces that we will be sitting on to make sure that we truly understand what's happening in our community and what the needs are. In that same vein, we know that our strategic plan is set to expire in 2021. I've tasked a few committee chairs with looking at amending it for now until we have a chance to garner true input from the community, from our teachers, and yes, even our students. So we won't be rebuilding an entirely new strategic plan, but we will be elevating new, or potentially elevating new key performance indicators, especially in the time of the pandemic. So please be on the lookout for that. Please feel free to offer suggestions, thoughts, or concerns as we undergo that process. With that in mind, there will be a few committee updates. So this is more for board colleagues and the community at large, but we are committees of the whole, which mean that if there are work sessions that need to take place or specific agenda items that take longer than maybe a board meeting might, they typically tend to go to a committee. So I'll be appointing new committee chairs that will come out before we get to the board retreat in December. Also, last Tuesday, for the last week, I don't know if you've been like me, but I have been sweating, anxiously awaiting what would happen nationally. So I'll just say, congratulations to the winners, congratulations to those who fought, congratulations to those who ran. As Mrs. Player-Peter says, running a campaign is not easy, but being an elected official is not easy. Those two don't always equate. I have so many other thoughts, but as board chair, I'm trying to muzzle myself a bit more. So I'll just say congratulations to President-elect Joe Biden and Madam Vice Chair Kamala Harris. I'm wearing my pearls today in her honor. I know that the AKAs are about to be insufferable, but I will say I am ready to hold your purses and hold your coats while y'all stroll for the next 4 years. I think it is incredibly important that we make these culturally relevant statements to make sure that the community at large understands the significance of historically Black colleges and universities like a Howard University or a Tennessee State University, a Meharry College, Fisk University. I was not going to see Fiskites too. Y'all are insufferable anyway. But anyway, so I want to make sure that historically Black colleges and universities are having the kinds of conversations that we need to have around them, but also that fraternities and sororities are being met with the same grace. I remember a few years ago, we began to see men of Omega Psi Phi, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, Alpha Phi Alpha. We just saw a slew of educated members of our community coming into this boardroom to make sure that we heard their voices, and I just appreciate that. So congratulations to the winners. Congratulations to those who worked hard. With that, my sister in the fight, Dr. Berthina Naba McKinney, we have appreciated having you by our side and the grace with which you've said in this capacity. I will let you have the floor if you have any final thoughts.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't welcome John Little to the board as our new board member for District 4. As I said publicly, I intend to support John in every way that I can and hold him to the floor where I need to. And that's my intent and purpose, and I wish him well and wish him the best of luck in supporting this and supporting the families on behalf of District 4 and across MNPS. So welcome aboard, John, and hopefully we'll see you on the floor at the next board meeting.
Well, see, just as gracious as ever. Yes, so that was my final remark, that Mr. Little will have his swearing in at 4 o'clock, Tuesday, November 24th, hopefully in this boardroom, but it will be socially distanced. So if he has friends or peers that want to come and cheer him on, you are welcome as long as there are no more than 25 people in this room. It will be streamed live as well. So with that, be there no further business, this meeting is adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.